Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Saturday live stream for Week 15 of the 2023 fantasy football season. Good morning, good afternoon. Hope you guys are all doing well. As you guys can see to the right side of the screen, we have up-to-date rankings as of this morning in regards to the four primary positions: my top 36 running backs, wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, and tight end for a half PPR scoring format, meeting everyone in the middle, whether you do play in a standard, half PPR, or full PPR league. So over the course of the next 3 hours prior to the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Minnesota Vikings, I'll be answering as many questions as possible. Of course, we have 3 games today, which is very interesting. I mean, just even next week, we have 2 Saturday games, we have a bunch of Sunday games, and 3 Monday games for next week. Either way, the schedules upcoming here for the fantasy playoffs are going to be interesting. A lot more live streams probably in these, upcoming weekends for sure, and especially early ones in this capacity. Either way, hope you guys are doing well. I do see that many of you have already sent in super chats. A couple reminders. If you're going to type a question in the chat, whether it's the live chat or send in a super chat in order to gain priority in terms of when I answer the question, please be sure to go ahead and include your scoring format. Definitely makes a huge difference in regards to whether it's a standard half PPR, full PPR, 4-point per passing touchdown, or 6-point per passing touchdown, and any other like bonus points you may get. All that kind of jazz, all the context you could possibly give me for your league, the easier it'll be for me to be able to come to a conclusion in regards to my suggestion going into today in current terms of the overall players that you have available. Again, as of right now, as we approach week 15, there are still a lot of players that we're kind of uncertain about. Like there's guys like Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, I would say even Chris Olave, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon. There's a lot of players that we're still not 100% certain as to whether or not they're going to play, and their current status is not available to the public. But hopefully we can get to potentially answering the questions to the best of the current ability with all the information that we have available. All right. Now that we're here, let's go ahead and let's begin answering questions. We begin with Kiwi Sports Mage, who sends in the first question all the way out there from New Zealand. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated, Kiwi. Says, from New Zealand, Andrew, playoff time. Here we go. Half PPR question. Two quarterback league. I have Jake Browning or Joe Flacco as my second quarterback. Between the two of them, I do prefer Jake Browning, even though, yeah, the only difference between the two, I think they're both playing against pretty solid defenses. The Minnesota Vikings are not a joke of a defense, and neither are the Chicago Bears as I think the Chicago Bears in the last 3 games have 9 interceptions. Can you imagine that? Obviously, thanks to the efforts of Jared Goff isolated, and of course, Josh Dobbs, who wanted to throw 4 picks against them. But yeah, between those two, I would play Jake Browning. He is the highest ranked player of the bunch. Speaking of quarterback rankings, I've gone ahead and I adjusted my quarterback rankings just slightly. I have Tua at 16 instead of Joe Flacco there, primarily because I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that Tyreek Hill plays tomorrow. But again, we won't know until tomorrow, so we'll progress, and if in fact and when we get that information available to us, we'll be able to make a conscious effort towards that. But in regards to like the wide receiver ranking of Tyreek Hill and Chris Olave, I have questionable tags next to them just because, again, we're not 100% certain as to whether or not they're even going to play this week. But just so you guys are all aware. As for your follow-up question there, Kiwi, I'll take Browning over Flacco, Ezekiel Elliott, or Zay Flowers. In a PPR scoring format, let me see who I have ranked higher. I'm fairly certain it's going to be Flowers. Control F, Flowers. Zay Flowers, and okay. In a full PPR scoring format, I have Zay Flowers as my number 27 ranked flex player, and my number 28 ranked flex player is Ezekiel Elliott. They're literally back-to-back, but I do have Zay Flowers in a tier ahead, and he is 1 spot ahead in terms of my rankings, so I'll take Flowers there, but they're back-to-back in my rankings as of this current moment in time. Speaking of my rankings, for those of you guys who have gone ahead and are currently a monthly supporter of Patreon, you can check out the rankings. They've already been posted this morning. For those of you guys who have signed up via Underdog Fantasy from August 1st, 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight, those rankings have been sent out to your email that is associated with your Underdog account. So again, if you've signed up using code Andrew, made that first-time deposit minimum of $10, you've gotten those rankings this morning, ready to go, like every other weekend live stream that is early. Those have been sent out, so be sure to go ahead and check those out. If it's not in your immediate inbox, be sure to also check your spam folder. That's typically where it'll land if it's the first time that you are receiving this, if you've just recently signed up. Thank you very much. Again, Kiwi, thank you very much. All right, we had a question that came in from Cameron Kaplan. Cameron, what's up, man? It says PPR, running backs, Moss, Achane, Ty as in Chandler, and Keaton. Tough call with Achane questionable on Saturday. Games pressing the decision. Yeah, I mean, of the available that you have, so I've gone ahead and I've ranked Devon Achane safely at number 24 because I don't know whether or not he's going to play. And even if he does play, there's also the possibility in which this game could be a closer contest. Maybe we see less utilization of him because, of course, he's dealing with that turf toe injury, missed Wednesday and Thursday practice. So I wanted to be cautious with his ranking in comparison to where I had him on Thursday. So I've moved him down to number 24. That being said, I still do have guys like Moss and Ty Chandler ahead of him. And I know that, of course, they both play today. I would prefer to play them both today because there is always a possibility in which, HN doesn't play tomorrow. And then if you have to pivot to playing someone like Keaton, Keaton Mitchell's not a terrible option, but he obviously hasn't presented much of any upside as of late. Moss takes on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers, each of the last 2 weeks, they've gotten torched by running backs James Conner and, of course, Ezekiel Elliott the last 2 games. And, of course, Ty Chandler takes on the Cincinnati Bengals. And a lot of running backs have taken, their advantages and their shots at that defense and found a lot of success. So I'll lean towards those two. As for your follow-up question, also Reed or Waddle in the flex. Yeah, I'll take Waddle there. Yeah, I'll take Waddle confidently. Especially if, in fact, there's a possibility in which, Tyreek Hill is limited and or potentially absent within that game. It makes it even better potential for upside there. So, yeah, I'll lean with Waddle there. Thank you, Cameron. Appreciate it. Trenton Jesse sends in a question. Says, full PPR, start 2, Mixon, Swift, Waddle, Rice. Okay, of those available, Mixon, Swift, Waddle, Rice. In a full PPR scoring format, I'm fairly certain I have it as Mixon and Rice. Let me just see. Mixon is there, and where's Rashee Rice? Rashee Rice is there, and who you have Swift, which is not ahead, and then you have Waddle, which I'm fairly certain is going to be a little bit lower ranked than Rice. Yeah, so this is how I have it. I have Rice as the highest ranked of those 4 players. The next highest is Joe Mixon. Right after him, literally, I have Joe Mixon as my number 30 ranked flex player. 31 is Jalen Waddle. And then obviously Swift will be last out of the group. But for right now, it is Rice and it is Mixon. If you want to play Rice along with Waddle, they're literally back-to-back in my PPR rankings. I wouldn't mind that. I think that's still a solid play in that circumstance, considering how well the run-stop defense is for the Minnesota Vikings. But where the Minnesota Vikings have struggled mightily is in terms of stopping running backs in terms of the receiving game as of late. Obviously, Mixon and Chase Brown should be able to take advantage of those opportunities. But for right now, yeah, I'll lean towards Mixon and Rice. As for your follow-up question in regards to this 2-quarterback league, you say, I have Jalen Hurts. I need to pick between Tua and Howell. Thanks. Yeah, I'll take Howell there. I think he's just been such a consistent option for fantasy purposes, and I don't really have to worry about all the pieces around him. You also have to take into account that Tua's offensive line is in complete shambles, and where Tua typically finds himself struggling is when he is under pressure and duress for majority of games. So considering his center's out for the season, I think one of his guards, Robert Hunt, I don't know which side he plays on, left or right, he's out for this game. All 3 offensive tackles that they have. So the 2 starting tackles and one of the swing tackles that they bring in on personnel in which they use a offensive tackle as a tight end, and he says that he's eligible. All 3 of those guys are questionable, could end up missing this week. There's a lot of injuries to that offensive line, and of course all the receiving corps. So for right now, I'll lean towards Howell. Thank you, Trenton. Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. Couple reminders really quickly. For those of you guys who are wondering in regards to when I will reveal kicker defensive rankings, there's about 338 of you in here. If we could get to, let's say, 200 likes, which would be greatly appreciated, I'd be more than happy to change the graphic on screen and present top 12 kickers and defenses for this week. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And all the support. Okay, let's see here. Young Money sends in a question. It says PPR, Pollard, with him using Dowdle a lot, or Rashee Rice. Let's see here. I have Rashee Rice there, and I have Pollard. Yeah, I have Pollard ahead of him. I like Rashee Rice a lot, especially considering his usage as of late. Like I mentioned on Wednesday's wide receiver video, he's the number 12 wide receiver and a half PPR in terms of points per game in the last 3 weeks, weeks 12 through 14. So he's just been cooking. He really has. Tony Pollard and Rashee Rice, in my mind, will probably score a similar range of points. And yeah, the only difference is that Pollard is getting so much more receiving utilization, and his total reception. But last week, I think he had himself like his career, or he tied his career high in terms of receptions with 7. Like the fact that he's getting that high of a volume of opportunity within the receiving game keeps him at the top of that conversation between the two. But I wouldn't I could justify the idea of playing Rashee Rice, but I would suggest Pollard if it was my team. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Trenton Jesse again as a follow-up. He said, pick 3 between J-Jet, as in Justin Jefferson. We have Olave, we have Hopkins, we have Waddle, we have Swift. In a full PPR, I don't know if Olave is going to be healthy. And even if he technically is, I don't know if I'm willing to start him up because there is a potential in which he could re-injure himself throughout this game, end up leaving. He didn't practice at all this week with that ankle injury. That is the biggest concern. So for right now, I'd lean towards playing DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, and probably Jalen Waddle. Yeah, those are the 3 that I would suggest at this current moment in time. Unless I was to get some sort of, really confident information regarding the potential of Chris Olave playing and being at a full healthy capacity. Unless I was given some sort of information regarding that, I just opt towards the other 3 great receiving options you have available. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? We had a question that came in from Eddie James. Eddie says, indoor kicker choice, Lutz or Havrisk, as in the Rams kicker. Currently, spoiling a little bit of the kicker and defense rankings. Again, if you guys can get us to 200 likes on today's live stream, be more than happy to go ahead and share kicker and defensive rankings at a full capacity, top 12 at each positions. I do have the Rams kicker ahead of Will Lutz going into this week. Just a heads up in that regard. Thank you, Eddie. L. Washington says, full PPR, Kenneth Walker or Odell Beckham Jr.? I would love to say that the answer is Kenneth Walker. But like we've seen as of late, and especially considering the performances in which Zach Charbonnet put together in the absence of Kenneth Walker, we're going to continue to see this backfield truly be a split. Now, it's not to say that it's impossible for Kenneth Walker to out-snap him and out-touch him in these overall circumstances going forward. But just looking back in the last couple weeks in which they've played together, like we're just talking about Charbonnet playing 59 to 41% of snaps. Charbonnet dominating again, 55 to 49, 52 to 48. And then just this last week, 42 to 56. So Kenneth Walker barely last week was able to kind of gain the lead in terms of snaps played within a singular game between these 2 running backs when they've played healthy together. But between the 2, I do have OBJ ranked higher against Jacksonville. It's just too advantageous of a matchup. That secondary really is their biggest. That's their biggest weakness by far. In terms of stopping the run, they've been great. But in terms of being able to stop opposing wide receivers, that has been the Achilles heel of that entire defense, and that's what teams continue to key in on every week. All right, let's see here. Rockout sends in a question. Says PPR, 1 running back, 1 flex, Javonte, Walker, Keaton Mitchell, McLaurin. If I was to start in a full PPR, 2 of those 4, I would probably end up playing Javonte Williams and Terry McLaurin. Those are the 2 that I lean in the direction of. JB in the chat said, I needed Hidden Gems video this week. If you have any questions, JB, in regards to players that you have available, I mean, look, again, I mentioned it at the beginning of yesterday's live stream because I didn't put out a Hidden Gems video in regards to when we're approaching the fantasy playoffs, I would probably lean towards lesser risk players. Like, I don't really want to, sure, I do think there is a very good, as of right now, if in fact it's applicable, I think Antonio Gibson is probably the highest kind of rising running back ranking over the course of the last couple of days because of the fact that Brian Robinson Jr. is not playing. So he could technically be considered a hidden gem of sorts, but he's already rostered in like 60% of leagues, or should be at least. But either way, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll try to see if any of the available players you have are the best options for you going into this week. All right, let's see here. After Rockout's question, we scrolled down and we had another follow-up question from Rockout who said, Cowboys the better team or Colts the better matchup? In regards to defenses for this week, Cowboys the better team or Colts the better matchup? If that's what you're talking about, if you're just talking about team defenses in that overall capacity, I'd rather just play the Indianapolis Colts because I know that Mitch Trubisky's probably due for 1 interception at least, if not 2. So, yeah, last week he threw 2 interceptions, but one of them were called back, obviously, due to a defensive penalty. Somebody in the chat, Anonymous, was saying Flacco or Levis. I have Flacco ahead of Levis this week. If Olave is out, Patton says, if Olave is out, Shaheed or Dobbs? If Olave is out, I'd rather play Dobbs than Shaheed. Cardiac Johnson sent in a question. Thank you, Cardiac. Says full PPR, Breece Hall or DeAndre Hopkins? Let's see here. Yeah, between the two of them, I'm fairly certain I have D-Hop ranked higher. D-Hop is there, and yeah, Brees Hall is there. Yeah, it would be D-Hop in this circumstance. Thank you. John D says, full PPR, pick two between OBJ, Ferguson, Gabe Davis, Najee Harris, Keaton Mitchell, Kincaid. Sorry, that's not Kincaid. That's Kansas City defense. It's KCD or Atlanta. So KCD and Atlanta currently, again, a reminder, if we can get to 200 likes, I'll be more than happy to change the rankings on screen and present top 12 kickers and defenses. Currently, my number 2 defense on the week is the Kansas City Chiefs. My number 3 defense on the week are the Atlanta Falcons. So I'll take the Chiefs, take it on the New England Patriots as the prioritized defense for this circumstance. As for your prior question, picking two between OBJ, Ferguson, Gabe Davis, Najee Harris, and Keaton Mitchell. I don't really want to play Keaton Mitchell or Gabe Davis in the circumstance. Gabe Davis, again, he has had 3 of the last 5 games in which he's had 0 receptions. The inconsistency and the sketchiness and the potential of that burning your entire week to the ground does not appeal to me very much. Even though I do think this is going to be a game in which both teams are scoring at a pretty high rate, even when that takes place for the Bills, it doesn't guarantee Gabe Davis any workload, especially as of late. So between the bunch that you have, I'd probably go with Ferguson and OBJ. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. All right, we had a question that came in from Frank Hernandez. Frank, thank you very much. Frank says, in a point, there's no way it's 0.6, right? Maybe it is. Okay. 0.6 point per reception and 0.2 point per carry league. Okay. Flex 1, McKinnon, Marquise Brown, or Noah Brown. Ooh, okay. So if in fact we're getting a 0.2 per carry and McKinnon, even if he's getting himself 10 carries, what does he get? 2 points? Like it's nothing crazy there. I guess it's just like very minimal point gathering. I think the 0.6 PPR is probably the most valuable of the group. Where do I have Noah Brown in comparison to Marquise Brown? I have Noah Brown ahead of Marquise Brown. Noah Brown in a half PPR, yeah, is ahead of him. If you guys don't know or aren't aware, the Houston Texans tomorrow will be starting Case Keenum as their starting quarterback. It will not be Davis Mills, even though that was initially reported, or at least expected. The report that I read, at least, was Case Keenum. I mean, maybe I got duped, but let me look this up before I keep saying that's the case. Hold up. I'm fairly certain that's what I read yesterday, or at least this morning. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is going to be Case Keenum. But I could be crazy. At least that's what I read. But yeah, I'll take Noah Brown over Marquise Brown this week. So in this circumstance, Noah Brown's the play. Thank you. Appreciate the support, Frank. All right, let's see here. We had a question. Okay, really quickly. For those of you who are joining us, we're almost about 500 total viewers. Again, a reminder, if we can get to 200 likes, it'd be greatly appreciated. I'll go ahead and present kicker and defense rankings. I'm going to go and like my own stream at this moment just so we can get us there because, of course, I want to share this information with you guys. I'm not trying to hide it from anyone. I'm obviously here to try to help you guys to the best of my ability, try to help us capture some victories this week, and, of course, continue to press on towards a championship. Let's see here. We had a question that was sent in from Jarvarius. Jarvarius, thank you very much. Says half PPR flex 1, Garrett Wilson, OBJ, or James Cook. Currently between the 3.5 PPR. Let's see where I have James Cook in comparison. James Cook is there. I have Garrett Wilson ahead of him, and I have OBJ ranked there. Yeah, so it would be it would be Garrett Wilson 1, James Cook 2, and number 3 would be OBJ. In that order, that's the way that I would progress it, and that's the way I'd rank it. So I'd play Garrett Wilson if you were flexing 1. Thank you. Let's see here. Lucius Vorenis 44 sends in a question. Says start 1, Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, or David Montgomery. Assuming it's a half PPR scoring format because you didn't mention a specific format there, Lucius. Between the bunch, it's always difficult to sit Jamar Chase because what we know he truly is capable of accomplishing within a given week. Man. Yeah, I think I'd probably just play Jamar Chase. I think Rashee Rice is the safe play in which you just get solid amount of points, but I do think that the Jamar Chase could very easily, just like he did just a couple weeks back, find himself scoring 25 points within a given week and no one would be surprised. And I think there's a possibility of that taking place today. So I'd lean towards the idea of playing Jamar Chase there out of those three options. Thank you. We had a question that came in from J.90 who says, in a PPR, start two between Javonte Williams, Ezekiel Elliott, James Cook, DeAndre Swift. Between those four options, my two highest ranked players as of right now, I believe in a full PPR, is Ezekiel Elliott, and then followed by, let's see, do I have Javonte ahead of James Cook? I have Javonte Williams one spot ahead of James Cook in a full PPR, and that's the way I would go about it. So Javonte and Zeke today would be the approach. As for your follow-up question, I've got Garrett Wilson in the flex. Would you plug in any of those running backs over him? No, I wouldn't. I would keep Garrett Wilson in the flex. You're good to go. J-Dot, thank you. Steve was asking, where do you rank Noah Brown if Nico is out? Nico is going to be out. He is expected to miss. I have Noah Brown quite literally ranked number 37. So he was just off of the top 36 list in a half PPR. But yeah, Noah Brown is my number 37 wide receiver. For those of you who are wondering, I do think he's a solid play, even with Case Keenum at quarterback. All right, we got over 200 likes. I greatly appreciate it, guys. I'm telling you, man, it makes a huge difference in terms of supporting the channel and continuing to, just grow the channel so I can continue to provide rankings, videos, etc. content. All right, so kicker and defensive rankings. As we can see on screen, I've just gone ahead and updated the rankings. Let's go ahead and let's just talk about this really quickly in terms of defensive rankings. Miami, again, whenever you're taking on the Jets, typically you want to fire up that defense. Miami's defense, dealing with a couple injuries, but again, still one of the best defenses in the National Football League. As for Kansas City, whenever you're taking on the New England Patriots offense, unless you're the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night of last week, it typically bodes well, especially considering how well the Kansas City defense has played as a whole. Atlanta takes on the Carolina Panthers. That's one of the easiest matchups you could possibly ask for. San Francisco takes on the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, I know that San Francisco is missing a couple of their interior defensive linemen, Arik Armstead, Javon Hargrave, but it really is a matchup in which whenever you get ahead with, Brock Purdy and this entire offense, and then it forces, a team like Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals to throw for majority of the second half, and the 49ers can release their dogs on him, guys like Bosa and obviously, Chase Young, they're going to get after him. And obviously it's going to cause a lot of, chaos, turnovers, sacks, etc. The Saints are another great play here in terms of defenses. They played well as a defense as of late. The Cleveland Browns, another solid defense. The Tennessee Titans are primarily here because of Case Keenum starting. The Baltimore Ravens are always a solid defensive play. The Cincinnati Bengals and Minnesota Vikings are back-to-back. I think this may be a little bit of a lower scoring game considering how well both these defenses have played, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe both these quarterbacks want to come out and play, out of their absolute minds. Green Bay's a solid defense, and then we follow it up with the LA Rams. Just so we're all on the same page as to some of the context there. Moving on to answering some more questions. We have Eric Patterson. Thank you, Eric, who says, if Olave is out, should I start Shaheed over Higgins? Yes, I would. Yeah. If, in fact, Olave is out, I would rather play Rashid Shaheed than T. Higgins this week. Thank you for your question. Joe Wilson sends in a question. Says, in an 8-man half PPR league, one flex, made the playoffs, replaced Josh Jacobs and Keenan Allen this week with Ezekiel Elliott and Zay Flowers. On my bench, I got Kincaid, Edwards-Helaire, and Antonio Gibson. Did I make the right choice? Yeah, I mean, that is the best possible choice you could have made. I think Ezekiel Elliott and Zay Flowers are the perfect substitutes for those two options. Obviously, luckily, because of the fact that you're playing in an 8-man league, you have so much depth and you're able to lose players like Jacobs and Keenan Allen, and it doesn't hurt you that much. So this is honestly really good alternative options, and you should be good to go there, Joe. Appreciate it. Alrighty, let's see here. We had a question. I see a question in the chat for Brandon. He says Zach Moss or Rashee Rice in a full PPR. In a full PPR, I'd rather just play Rashee Rice there. Derrick Henry or Tony Pollard in a standard scoring format. Cash Kid Cardi, I would play Derrick Henry there in a standard format where you get 0 points per reception. Let's see here. Corey Jones was saying full PPR, Zeke or Pollard. I'm fairly certain I still have Pollard ahead of Zeke in a full PPR because I do expect them both to get a lot of utilization within the receiving game, of course. All right, let's see here. Matt sends in a question. It says full PPR, pick two of the following: CEH, Singletary, Jahan Dotson. In a full PPR, I don't think I want to play Jahan Dotson. Not out of those options. I think I'd probably just lean towards the running backs. Just looking at Jahan Dotson's recent production, like the reason why Jahan Dotson went on such a streak earlier this year in terms of a lot of success was primarily because of the absence of Curtis Samuel. There was a couple weeks there in which Curtis Samuel was either injured or getting, ejected out of the game because of a penalty. Throughout that span of time, obviously, Jahan Dotson put together a couple big games there in which he had like 3 touchdowns in 4 weeks. But ultimately, as a play for this week, I just wouldn't trust it outright in comparison to Clyde Edwards, and of course the alternative option of playing Devin Singletary this week. So I'll take those 2 running backs. Thank you. Brandon Gilbert sends in a question. Thank you, Brandon. Says full PPR. I need a flex with Collins out. Lockett, Chuba Hubbard, McBride. I have Kittle as my tight end. Yeah, I'm fairly certain. I'm going to check this right now. In a full PPR, I'm fairly certain I have Trey McBride as the higher ranked player. Let me see here. There's Trey McBride. Where is Tyler Lockett out of the bunch? Where is Tyler Lockett's there? Yeah, I have Trey McBride as the highest ranked player. If I was to order these 3 players, it would be McBride number 1, Tyler Lockett number 2, Chuba Hubbard number 3 in a full PPR. Thank you, Brandon. Luke Fan sends in a question, says Tua or Flacco? Under the assumption that we get a healthy playing Tyreek Hill tomorrow, for right now I have it as Tua. If it changes, then we'll pivot to playing Flacco. As for your follow-up question, Montgomery or Laporta in the flex, I think it really depends on what the scoring format is. In a full PPR, I'd probably end up playing Laporta there. Do I play him in a half or standard? Let me see where I have them ranked as of this morning. Montgomery in comparison to Laporta in a, let's see here. Yeah, so in a half PPR, let me actually check even a full PPR here. Yeah, so I'm willing to play Laporta in a full PPR, but in a half and a standard, I'll probably just lean towards playing David Montgomery there, depending on what you, of course, have as your scoring format. Luke, thank you again. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. We had a question that was sent in from the direction of Shubes. Shubes says, in a full PPR, play David Montgomery or Zach Moss. In a full rest of season, well, rest of season is different, right? I'm going to say for this week, in a full PPR, where do I have Zach Moss in comparison? Zach Moss, so in a full PPR, I have David Montgomery still ahead of Zach Moss. They're literally my number 15 and 16 ranked running backs in the format. They're back-to-back. So I will take David Montgomery there. But as for rest of the season, it's definitely David Montgomery, considering Jonathan Taylor is likely to return sooner rather than later. Omar G sends in a question, says Josh Downs or Demario Douglas in a full PPR? I'll take Demario Douglas there. Thank you. Jim Dix says, you're the man. In a full PPR, 2 flex options. I have Pollard and Hall as my running backs. I have Evans and Ayuk as my wide receivers. Laporta is my tight end, and I need 2 flex options out of Zeke, Swift, Chandler, Puka, Reed, Olave. Okay, so of the available options you have, I would play Puka Nacua alongside of Ezekiel Elliott in your flex in a full PPR scoring format. Obviously, considering the questionable nature of Olave, I prefer those 2 options. Otherwise, he would have been in the conversation. But yeah, Zeke and Puka. Thank you. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay. JD in the live chat was saying David Montgomery or Breece Hall. I play David Montgomery in a half or a standard league. I would play Breece Hall in a full PPR league. That's the way that I would approach it as of right now. Obviously, because of the ridiculous volume of receptions that Breece Hall gets within this offense. I think he's averaging like 5.4 receptions per game over the course of the last 8 games. Pretty crazy number there for sure. All right, let's see here. Andrew Gennaro sends in a question, says half point per reception. Start 3 out of Clyde Edwards, Gibson, Ridley, Drake, London, and Deontay Johnson. Okay, so let me go ahead and let me copy these names down really quickly just so I can take them into my half PPR flex rankings. And let's control. Okay, let's paste value. Okay, so we're looking for the following names. We're looking for Clyde Edwards. So Clyde Edwards is there. So then we have Gibson. Let's look him up. Okay, he's there. Then we need Ridley's ranking. Ridley's ahead of both of them. We need Drake London. Okay, who's ahead of him? and we need Deontay Johnson. So out of the group, so this is the way that I would answer this question, Andrew Gennaro. So as of right now, under the assumption that tomorrow's rain game, well, under the assumption that the weather is not a problem in Carolina tomorrow, which it could potentially be, under the assumption that it is not a problem, I would play Drake London and Calvin Ridley. Now the issue is, actually no, hold on, wait. That's that. Redact that statement. Deontay Johnson is my highest ranked player. Okay, so it would be, this is how it would be. Deontay would be number 1. Number 2 is Drake London. Calvin Ridley's 3. Antonio Gibson's 4. And CH is 5. Okay? So Deontay Johnson plays today against the Indianapolis Colts. I would play Drake London assuming the weather is fine. If it is not, you pivot to Calvin Ridley. Thank you. Moving on, we had a question that came in from Rogelio. Yeah, Rogelio? Maravilla? Either way. Apologies if I butchered the name, but Maravilla is, in my opinion, at least easier to rank, easier to pronounce, man. My brain is just firing off on rankings. All right, the question is flex 1 between Jaylen Warren, JSN, Deontay Johnson in a half PPR scoring format. Thanks, Andrew. All right, so I have Deontay Johnson there. Is Jaylen Warren ahead of him? I'm going to venture to say that he is not. He is not. So of the available options, Deontay, Warren, and JSN, it would go in that order. Deontay 1, Jaylen Warren 2, and JSN 3. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Ben. Ben says, thanks for your advice. Oh, that's it. Okay. I appreciate it, Ben. Ben, if you have any questions, let me know. Actually, let me check if Ben has any questions in the chat just in case. Ben sent in that. Nothing yet. Okay. Thank you again, Ben. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. All right. We had a question that came in from OG Sumo, who says, PPR start 3 out of Pollard, Mostert, Swift, Etienne, Zeke, and Moss. Okay. Of those 7 running backs, I'd play Pollard, Mostert, and Zeke. Those are the 3 that I would suggest. Thank you, OG Sumo. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change the rankings back to this one. Boom, we're good to go. Ghosts with a Z sends in a question, says, full PPR flex, Ty Chandler, T. Higgins, Marquise Hollywood Brown, Pitts as in the tight end, and Houston tight end as in Schultz. Okay, so of those available options, Ghosts, I would play Ty Chandler if I'm only playing one flex option. Thank you. We had a question that came in from TKO, who says, in a half PPR scoring format, I've got Kyron Williams, Zach Moss, CeeDee Lamb, Jaden Reed, and Raheem Mostert in the flex. My bench consists of Mixon, Amari Cooper, OBJ, nearly tied in projections. Would you change anything? So as of right now, technically, in a half PPR, I do have Mixon ahead of Moss. I don't mind the idea of playing Moss ahead of Mixon. I don't mind it. If you prefer it, if you think that Moss will outscore him, that's fine by me. I don't think that's I don't think I need to contest that point. You know that the rankings are on screen. You're good to go. Would I change the idea of playing? I think Jaden Reed's the one that I changed, though. I think that's the one that I would probably budge on in terms of most likely. What do I have Jaden Reed on screen? Jaden Reed currently on screen is at 24. Wait, I don't even have. Wait. What is your alternative options? You have Amari and OBJ. Yeah, okay, no, you're fine then. So Jaden Reed plays there because Christian Watson's going to be out this week. No, you're fine. Okay. Yeah, there's not even a problem there. So the only change that could potentially be made would be pivoting Mixon to Moss, but at this point, even with Moss lower ranked, I don't mind that. I'm fine with the overall play there. I think they're both solid plays at running back. I think they'll probably end up putting up similar production in a half PPR. I just prefer Mixon off of the overall consistency of plays at as of late. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Someone in the chat was asking Goff or Mayfield. I have Goff ahead of Mayfield this week. CK Dine in the chat said HN24, ouch. Yeah, I don't even know if he's going to play tomorrow. That's primarily why he's there. Let's see here. Someone said Brees or Montgomery. I'd only play Brees Hall in a full PPR. Otherwise, I'd play Montgomery over him. Thank you. Count Butt says, full PPR. Do I start ETN, Puka Nacua, Jefferson, or Swift in my flex? 10 and 4, thanks for the help. Okay. In a full PPR, is it ETN or is it Jefferson? Let's see here. So I have Justin Jefferson there. I have ETN lower ranked than him. Who is your alternative option? Puka Nacua, who I have ranked higher. Yeah, Puka Nacua is the highest ranked player out of the bunch. I'd have it Puka 1, Jefferson 2, ETN 3, and Swift 4 in that order, full PPR. Thank you for your question, Count. Let's see here. Cash Kid Cardi says Jets defense. A start if Hill is out. Yes. But again, I don't know if that's going to be the case. So we'll know by tomorrow morning for sure, though. And we'll adjust the rankings accordingly once we get there. Let's see here. Charlene says, rank the Bears running backs rest of season. Foreman is on my waivers. Should I pick him up? If you need a running back, then sure. At a top 36 capacity, Foreman's going to continue to get himself the vast majority of snaps and touches. So if I was to rank these running backs going forward, it would be Deontay Foreman 1, Khalil Herbert 2, Roschon Johnson 3. And then if you're in a super deep league, Travis Homer 4. Which I don't think we'll ever get to that point to where we'll need to use Travis Homer, though. Somebody asked full PPR Javonte Williams or Achane. Yeah, considering Achane hasn't really been healthy. He's dealing with a turf toe. He only practiced on Friday at a limited capacity, otherwise missed Thursday and Wednesday. Overall practice, considering they're very non-committal on saying as to whether or not he'll play, the offensive line injuries, all this kind of jazz. I think Javonte's just a better play tonight against the Detroit Lions. I honestly, truly do believe that the Denver Broncos are going to make this an interesting game tonight. I really do like the fact that they pivoted and they flexed the Lions game to tonight, being the Saturday night game in specific, because I think it is the best matchup of the 3 games that we'll see today. All right, let's see here. Chris in the chat was saying Mayfield, DeVito, Mullen, or Zappi. If I'm going to play one of the 4, I mean, look, if I was just going to order them, it would go Mayfield 1, DeVito 2, Mullen 3, Zappi 4. So just so you're aware. Thank you. Jamie Shaw in the chat says, start 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex this week. All right, my wide receivers are Garrett Wilson, Sutton, Pittman, Diggs. My running backs are Breece Hall, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Keaton Mitchell. Thank you. Okay, so of the 3 wide receivers that I would suggest that you play here, James, is it Jamie Shaw or is it James Ha? Either way. The way that I would go about it in terms of the 3 wide receivers that I would play, Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman Jr., Cortland Sutton, 1, 2, 3. Assuming it's a half PPR. You didn't mention scoring format. If it's a full PPR, I would play Garrett Wilson over Cortland Sutton. Follow up to that, in terms of playing your running backs, if it's regardless of scoring format, I'm playing Breece Hall and James Cook as your 2 starting running backs. And if in fact, this is the way that I'd go about it. Start all 4 receivers and then play Breece Hall and James Cook. Those are the 6 overall starts. Thank you, Jamie Shaw. Question from Andrew Mitchell, who says, Morning King. Question in the chat. Appreciate you. Okay, let's see here. Andrew Mitchell, where art thou question? Says 6 point per passing touchdown. Bonus at 300 yards. Kyler or Tua, both tough matchups. Yeah, I don't envy either of those guys. They're going to have tough matchups for sure tomorrow. 6 point per passing touchdown and a 300-yard bonus. I don't think Kyler's played well enough this season to justify playing him. I mean, I guess, okay, so if Tua doesn't have Tyreek Hill tomorrow, I'll play Kyler, and I'll do it comfortably. But if Tyreek Hill's active, it's going to be Tua from me. Thank you, Andrew. All right, let's see here. We had a question in the chat from Backstage Tattoo. It says Higgins, Thielen, or Deontay Johnson. Between the 3, the order in which I have it is Deontay 1, Thielen 2, Higgins 3, as of right now. All right, let's see here. There's a question in the chat from Simon for President who says half PPR flex Zeke or Lockett. In a half PPR, I'd play Zeke there. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down, we had a question that came in from Matt, who says, Matt Truncali says, in a PPR, pick 2 out of Hubbard, Gibson, Godwin, Nico. I assume, and I'm expecting Nico Collins to not be playing this week. Did not practice at all, and yeah. So I'm leaning in the direction of the 3 options you have in a PPR scoring format. Let me see where I have them ranked. I'm fairly certain it's going to be Godwin, but let's check here. So I have Godwin there, and I have, yeah. So of the three options you have there, Matt, it would be Godwin and Hubbard with the 2 starts. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Really quickly, just a quick update. For those of you who are joining us this morning as of right now, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Good morning on this wonderful Saturday for week 15 of the 2023 fantasy football season. As you guys can see immediately to the right side of the screen, we have updated rankings as of this morning. The reason, or the immediate way that you can know that this is updated rankings is that Taysom Hill is within my tight end rankings in comparison to Thursday, in which he wasn't even there because I didn't even know if he was going to play. So keep that in mind. Also, if you guys have signed up via Underdog Fantasy over the course of August 1st, 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight, those rankings have been sent out to you as of this morning. Again, for those of you guys who want my rankings, potentially for tomorrow morning and for every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, check out Underdog Fantasy, link down in the description. If you want to sign up using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of $10. Again, eligibility is based on your current location, and not only that, you can take advantage of Lamar Jackson, 0.5 total yards going into the Sunday Night Football game if you go ahead and sign up as a new customer special. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get back to answering some of these questions. I will change it back to kicker and defensive rankings in just a moment, but just wanted to go ahead and leave quarterback and tight end rankings up for just a little bit because I know that someone in the chat had asked for that. All right, let's see here. Keith sends in a question. Thank you, Keith. Keith says, full PPR, start 2 out of Lockett, Ridley, Addison, and CEH. If I'm starting 2 of those 4, Lockett would be number 1, and I'm fairly certain I have Ridley as my number 2. He is, in fact, my number 2 in a full PPR. So it would go Lockett 1, Ridley 2, CEH 3, and Addison 4. Thank you, Keith. Let's see here. Bakari sends in a question. Man, long time no see, Bakari. Hope you're doing well. Mr. Bakari says, Clyde Edwards or ETN in a full PPR. ETN has a tough matchup. He absolutely does have a tough matchup, but I'm going to still lean in the direction of playing ETN. There's always the potential of Jerick McKinnon digging into the work of Clyde Edwards and or potentially this game becoming such a blowout in which they pull in their third string running back potentially. So for right now, I'll take Travis Etienne and the production he's seen as of late. I think a touchdown, 4 catches, 30 yards on the ground, probably 30 through the air, 50 on the ground. What is that like? In a full PPR capacity, that's somewhere between 12 to 18 points this week with that touchdown swing. I think he's a pretty safe play there. ETN. Thank you. Shubes sends in another question. It says full PPR, Zeke, Montgomery, Achane today and rest of season. Today, I would play between the 3 of them in a full PPR scoring format, Ezekiel Elliott. As for rest of season, the running back that I would, honestly, if Zeke continues to play as well as he did on, last week's game, and if he continues to get himself a high volume of receiving work, continue to be touchdown relevant and get himself a vast majority of the rushing attempts, probably 15 to 20 per game, he could very easily in a full PPR be the most valuable player here. I don't know what HN injury is going to look like, so I really can't tell you what the rest of season prognosis is in regards to his availability. So for right now, I just lean towards the idea of Zeke, Montgomery, HN in that order. Brando23 sends in a question, says in a half PPR, if Olave is out, should I play Rashid Shaheed or Dalton Kincaid? Let me see who I have ranked higher. I'm fairly certain it's going to be Kincaid, but I could be wrong. I have Dalton Kincaid there, and I have, where's Rashid Shaheed? I have Rashid Shaheed there, yeah. I have Dalton Kincaid ahead of him in a half PPR scoring format. That's under the assumption that Olave plays. If Olave's out, would I rather, if Olave misses this week, Shaheed automatically hops into the wide receiver 1 position. No, I'd still play Kincaid there. I'll still play Kincaid. Thank you. All right, let me go ahead and show kicker and defensive rankings really quickly. Appreciate it, guys. If you do, of course, appreciate the rankings, my efforts, all that kind of jazz, do me a solid. Click the like button down below. Certainly helps continue to support the channel. Thank you. Rob Jackson sends in a question. Rob Jackson's question is, hey, Andrew, I need a wide receiver 2 in a flex for this week in a full PPR scoring format. I have Jordan Addison, Demario Douglas, Hollywood Brown, Michael Wilson, Aaron Jones, and Zach Charbonnet. Okay. So as for your wide receiver 2, first and foremost, of the available options you have between Addison, Pop Douglas, Hollywood, Michael Wilson, I have Pop Douglas as the highest ranked wide receiver. It would go Demario Douglas 1, Hollywood Brown 2, Addison 3, Michael Wilson 4. As for your flex, it's contingent on whether or not AJ Dillon is active. and whether or not Aaron Jones is active. I would assume because A.J. Dillon broke his thumb on Monday, his right thumb. And if that's his dominant hand, that's even worse. But as a running back, if you have a broken finger, getting a helmet on it the following week is probably not the best way to recover. I would assume that Aaron Jones probably goes this week. So the way that I'm currently going to suggest it is going Pop Douglas and Aaron Jones. If in fact Aaron Jones is not available, you would go Pop Douglas with Hollywood Brown. Thank you, Rob. Isaiah Hernandez sends in a question, says, should I play Javonte Williams or Ty Chandler? I believe in both scoring formats. I currently have Javonte Williams ahead of him. Let me go ahead and confirm this. Javonte is ahead of him there, and he's ahead of him there. Yeah. In both half and full PPR, I have Javonte Williams ahead of Ty Chandler. Thank you. Sebastian Gutierrez sends in a question, says, why Zeke over Jameer? Waddle over any of the... Okay, yeah. So here's the primary reason as to why Zeke is, in my opinion, the better option in comparison to Jahmyr Gibbs. If we get into a game script for the Detroit Lions in which we are going to get a vast lead in which they're up early, just like they did a couple weeks back against the New Orleans Saints. If they take an early lead against the Denver Broncos in any sort of capacity, which they're absolutely capable of doing, assuming, of course, Jared Goff shows up and plays like he did in the first, half of the season rather than what he's done as of late, it will be a positive game script in which they'll be running the ball and trying to kill clock for a majority of the game. And in the contest most recently that we have seen that has taken place, Jahmyr Gibbs is an afterthought in comparison to David Montgomery and his overall rushing usage. In comparison to Zeke, who even last week in a positive game script had himself 7 receptions on 9 targets, 80, 70-something receiving yards and a touchdown. Like, even if we go into a negative game script with Zeke, he's kind of matchup proof in that capacity in which he gets the entire backfield of touches. He's going to get himself a lot of receiving work because they're going to be playing from behind. And on top of it, he is going to be the primary goal line back, and we can't guarantee that with Jahmyr Gibbs in comparison. Now, that being said, I do think that Jahmyr Gibbs has the potential to score just as much as Zeke, but it would really have to go, like all the variables would have to stack up and go perfectly for him for it to take place in that capacity. As for your follow-up question there, Sebastian, Waddle over any of these two in a PPR scoring format? Let me check how I have it ranked. I'm fairly certain I'm going to say no, but let me check. Waddle's there. Okay, where is Waddle in the flex ranking? Waddle's there, and where art thou? Yeah, and actually in a full PPR, I have Zeke and Waddle. Okay, so here's the thing. If Tyreek Hill miss it, well, you're not going to know because, yeah, look, for right now, I just play Zeke and Jahmyr. Considering we don't know the status of Tyreek Hill, if Tyreek Hill was out, I'd say 1,000% yes on Waddle. Considering I don't know for sure, I'd probably just lean towards the idea of just playing both the running backs. Yeah, that's my current approach for it. Thank you. Let's see here. Duro Modi sends in a question, says, what's up, Andrew? Thanks for the help this year. Got last starter sit question for you. All right, here we go. Would you start Gibson, Chandler, or Achane? Let me know. Between the three of them, I would play Chandler, then Gibson, then H. Actually, no. Technically, I don't know if Achane even plays. If he does, I play him over Gibson because I think he would have potentially more upside if, in fact, he was active. But for right now, it doesn't matter. I play Ty Chandler over the other two. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from J.90 who says, PPR, Swift, expand on why you have him at 20. Yeah, I mean, I think his recent performances are abundantly clear in terms of the ineffectiveness of the running game. The fact that, first and foremost, Jalen Hurts is dealing with his own set of injuries, and the fact that he is not as much of a threat in the running game does make it so where defenses really don't have to key in on the idea of just having to cover him the entire time. Majority of the rushing attempts that Jalen Hurts has in a game, as of the course of the last couple of weeks, are just QB sneaks. Very little designed runs for him, and it just opens up more of the conscious nature of this defense knowing, hey, if this guy's not going to keep it because he's got a knee problem, we're just going to continue to stack the box and just try to play man coverage against his defense and stop the run, because that's really what they succeeded. Now, obviously, they've played against really good defenses the last 2 weeks, but if they continue to lack on the rushing attempts in any sort of capacity, especially if this is going to be a shootout, which I do expect it to be, considering the secondary of the Eagles is a complete disaster, I would assume that the The overall touches that go around within this backfield are also going to be spread out with Kenneth Gainwell. I just, unless DeAndre Swift is going to score a touchdown, which again typically is not going to be the case, even if he's going to get himself 15 touches, he's going to have to be hyper efficient against the Seattle Seahawks to be a better play than majority of the other running back options, because a lot of these other options that I have ranked ahead of him are going to get more touches than him, are going to get more receiving work than him, and more often than not, a lot of these other guys have more touchdown upside. So that's kind of where I sit it as of right now. It's tough, man. I hope that the Eagles offense starts to pick it up, but they've been just really underwhelming as of late. D with 2 E's sends in a question. DEE says, half PPR Mixon or Michael Pittman Jr.? I'd probably just play Michael Pittman Jr. there, to be honest. Riley sends in a question, says, so I got Kupp, Pittman, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Hopkins, full PPR. Which 3 do I start? I saw your rankings, but there's no world on which I play Jefferson. I think you meant is there no world that I play Jefferson? I think the is missing. But either way, you have Kupp, Pittman, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Hopkins. The reason why I don't trust Jefferson as much as you might is because he has Nick Mullins as quarterback. If it was, if it was Kirk Cousins, I almost said Christian Kirk. If it was Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson will be the number 1 ranked wide receiver this week, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. But considering he's coming off of an injury, and on top of it has Nick Mullins as a starting quarterback, those two things, they create a recipe for disaster potentially. That being said, I still have him as a top 18 option because he is one of the more talented wide receivers in the league, and will get himself a pretty ample set of opportunity. But if it's my team this weekend, I'm playing Kupp, Pittman, and Amon-Ra very comfortably, and I'd honestly play Hopkins ahead of him as well. But if you'd like to play Jefferson, go for it. And the 2 best options that you can see on screen following Jefferson would then be like Kupp and Amon-Ra technically. So you can approach it with that, or whatever you'd like. You're the GM, you're the final decision maker, but I would go with Kupp, Pittman, and Amon-Ra. Thank you. Let's see here. Legendary Duke in the live chat was saying, man, I need my big 3 CeeDee Lamb, Diggs, and Amon-Ra to show up. Thank you very much, Legendary. Appreciate it. Yeah, trust me. I mean, I think we're all in the same belief that we need all of our studs to show up. Like if our flex options are not studs and they're just like, a 1-week play because of injury, they don't have to show up. But our studs, the guys that, have really carried our team to get us this far, hopefully need to show up this week and really ball out. Let's see here. Riley sends in a question. Okay, so we took care of Riley's question again. Thank you, Riley. Steve sends in a question, says, I made the playoffs by 10 fantasy points because I played Browning. Wow, congratulations. Lost Cousins, Watson this season, and had Howell/Kyler on the bye. Wow. Okay. What do I do with Eckler? I think that's what you meant, but you spelled it incorrectly. Either way. Let's see here. TY or Zamir next week? What do you do with Eckler? Eckler's going to be tough, man. I think that offense without Justin Herbert's pretty much nullified. So it's probably like sit him until the remainder of the season, unless you have a really advantageous matchup, which going forward, they have the Buffalo Bills next week. Like I'm not playing Eckler there unless I'm in a super desperate situation. So for right now, and you're asking like Ty Chandler or Zamir White next week, if in fact Josh Jacobs is out again, which I doubt is going to be the case, we can have the conversation, but I think it really will depend on what we see out of Ty Chandler today and whether or not Alexander Mattison is potentially active in the following week. So I'm not 100% certain to jump on one of the rankings, but if I was to just guess for right now, I'd say that Josh Jacobs probably plays next week, and the only reason he didn't play was because it was on a short week and playing on Thursday. So it'll probably end up being Ty Chandler next week. Steve, thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that was sent in from Pineset. Pineset says, let's see, where's Pineset? Pineset says, Ayuk or Evans at wide receiver? Sorry. I messed it. I know you're good. You're good. Okay, so if that's your question, Pineset, the way that I would go about it, Ayuk and Evans. Let's see here. In a half PPR, obviously the rankings are on screen. I would play Mike Evans over Brandon Ayuk. Let me check how I have it in a full PPR, though. It might be the same. It might be different. Full PPR, I have it as Ayuk ahead. Okay, so Half PPR standard scoring format, give me Mike Evans. Full PPR scoring format, give me Brandon Ayuk. That's how I currently have it ranked. Thank you. We had a question that came in from after Pine Set. We had Dilo. Dilo, what's up, man? Says, good luck, happy holidays. Thanks for all the work. Thank you, Dilo. Greatly appreciate it, my man. 314, skip to my Lou says, pick 3 full PPR out of Mostert, Moss, Henry, Pollard, and Montgomery. Okay, so of these running backs, I would go with Pollard, Henry, and Mostert, especially considering Achane is questionable to play. It does end up forcing you to sit Montgomery and Moss, but in comparison to the other two, if Mostert has the backfield to himself against the Jets, we saw that just a couple weeks back in week 12. He scored 21 fantasy points on that defense in terms of his rushing efforts. Henry has scored 2 touchdowns in each of the last 3 games, and he takes on Houston that doesn't have an offense potentially. Could be a Henry game for the entirety of the contest. And then you have Pollard, who in my opinion is the most consistent back in comparison to Montgomery and Moss as of late, and also has the highest upside for the PPR, work and usage to elevate his performance in comparison. So those are the 3. Thank you. Let's see here. Chelsea in the chat was asking, how do we feel about Pickens? George Pickens is a touchdown away from being a solid play, but that is purely what it is dependent on. If he doesn't score a touchdown in the given week, I mean, can we really trust him? He doesn't get a high enough target volume. He doesn't get enough usage. If you guys saw his next-gen stats chart, actually, I didn't present it because he wasn't ranked, but let me see if I can find it. It's really bad, guys. Like, if I was you, I think maybe as a Hail Mary play, perhaps George Pickens could be a viable start, but it's not a great scenario. I'll be honest. Let's see here. George Pickens. Let me show you this picture. I'm going to go download it and where is it? Oh, they don't have it. They don't have week 14. I swear I've seen it though. Let's see here. Week 14. Pickens. I saw it on Twitter last week. So yeah, they don't have it. Okay, it's fine. Last week, if you saw the targets in which or the routes in which George Pickens was targeted on, not a single one of them was further than 5 yards down the field, which is very scary because, yes, he has the deep receiving threat ability, but if Trubisky's not going to throw it, what's the point? So that's my thoughts on him. We had a question from Jesse G, who says, Bears defense or Bengals defense this week? I don't mind the Bears defense. I have them ranked outside of my top 12 as of right now, primarily because 3 of the starting offensive linemen of the Cleveland Browns are out. Now, obviously, this has been for quite a while now, but the right tackle has been out for a while. The left tackle has been out for a couple weeks here, and then the center is out this week. So that definitely does help the potential of that defense, and obviously the fact that they have 9 interceptions over the course of the last 3 games definitely helps. But again, that's primarily Jared Goff. For right now, I'd end up firing up the Bengals defense. I think this offense for the Minnesota Vikings, it is a solid one, but I do think that this is going to be a game where the Bengals defense could probably have a pretty solid performance, especially rushing the passer. If Mullins doesn't have much mobility, this offensive line has not been known for being great pass protectors as of this season and as of the last couple seasons in terms of the personnel that they currently have. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from Super Sherman. Let me go ahead and change rankings on screen to quarterback and tight end real quick. Super Sherman says, full PPR, Chuba Hubbard, Najee Harris, Jerome Ford. People are low on Chuba Hubbard. I think the primary reason why Chuba Hubbard has a low ranking is because he's playing against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons haven't allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back all season long. So the worry is that even though Chuba Hubbard is going to get himself 20 to 25 rushing attempts this week, even if he's able to average 4 yards per carry and get himself 100 yards on the ground, if he doesn't score a rushing touchdown, he doesn't get much receiving utilization because of Miles Sanders' implementation. Blackshear is also getting himself work in this backfield. If it doesn't stack up in terms of yardage elsewhere from besides his rushing usage, and he doesn't score a touchdown, I think that is why the primary base of Chuba Hubbard is a low RB2, is because without the touchdown guarantee, because of the difficult matchup, it is tough to trust him. But I still have him ranked higher than Najee Harris and Ford in a full PPR. So I'd still suggest Chuba Hubbard there. I think he has, a vast majority of the touches, and I don't think it's impossible for him to score a touchdown. I think it's just unlikely. Let's see here. Kevin Guevara sends in a question, says playoffs, ! Full PPR. We have Brock, Kyron Williams, Jamar Chase, OBJ, Kincaid, Ty Chandler, 49ers defense. My bench consists of Mahomes, Lockett, Brown, and Douglas. Any changes to make? I would keep Brock in. I would keep Jamar Chase, and I would probably play. Let me see here. Where do I have Lockett in comparison to OBJ? Tyler Lockett is ahead of OBJ, so I would change that in a full PPR. Let's see here. Under the assumption you can only start one running back and you're starting one flex as Ty Chandler, I'm okay with it. But yeah, I think the only change that I make technically is probably playing Lockett over OBJ this week because of that matchup against. I mean, I think they both have really good matchups. They're both top 5 at their positions. Yeah, honestly, you could probably just keep it as such. I don't feel that strongly about it to where I'm making that switch. I think right now I have Lockett literally one spot ahead of OBJ in a full PPR. Literally one spot. And there's the same tiered wide receiver. So the assumption is you could start one over the other and I wouldn't be bothered by it. And in that case, I'm okay leaving it as such if that's what you prefer. Thank you. Zell TV says, pick 2, Diggs, Evans, Jaden Reed. Diggs and Evans. Thank you very much. Start your studs. Pixelated Peace says, I'm in a standard league and I'm hurting at quarterback. So I had to go to the waivers. Who should I start at quarterback this week? Kyler Murray or Jake Browning? I prefer Jake Browning. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Super Sherman says you can only play one. Yeah. Good to go. Play two whoever there. We move on to Rough Times, who says, hey, Andrew, 2 playoff leagues. Let's see below. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. Rough Times. Here's your question. It says, in my 2 leagues, league number 1 is a 0.25 per rush and 0.5 per reception. I need 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs and a singular flex. Out of Diggs, Sun God, Evans, Kamara, Zeke, Ty, HN, Kenneth Walker, and Aaron Jones. I've already played Eckler this week. Okay, so of the available options in a 0.25 per rushing attempt, half point per reception league, the 2 wide receivers that I would play are Diggs and Sun God. The 2 running backs that I would play are Kamara and Zeke. And the flex that I would play for this league, I'd probably still play Evans there as your flex. Thank you. As for your second league, 1 point per reception. Need 2 players, Zeke, Montgomery, and Hall. Between those 3, I play Zeke and Hall in a full point PPR. Thank you. Alrighty, we've taken care of that. Okay. Eduardo M sends in a question. Says, lineup advice. Chase, Olave, Nico, Swift, Garrett Wilson, London, Ferguson, Mitchell, Bijan, Achane. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. Whole squad is injured. Yeah, that's definitely a facepalm there, Eduardo, but let's see what we can do to help you. So in regards to what you have available, I'm assuming that Nico Collins does not play. So that would leave your wide receivers this week as Chase, first and foremost, has to play today. I would like to play Olave as the number. Actually, you have Garrett Wilson. So it would be Chase and Garrett Wilson are the quarterback. Jeez, mini Christmas. Lock it in, Andrew. Chase and Garrett Wilson are the wide receivers. Okay, that's set. As for the 2 running backs that I would play of the available that you have, I'd go with Bijan Robinson and Achane if he's active. If he's not active tomorrow, obviously you'd pivot to playing Keaton Mitchell. And then your 2 flex options would be playing Olave and Ferguson. Hold up. Damn, this is... Okay, let's start from the beginning, Eduardo. Chase and Garrett Wilson are your wide receivers. Bijan Robinson and Achane are your running backs. If Achane is missing, you play Mitchell. Your 2 flexes are Olave, if he plays, along with Ferguson. If Olave is inactive, you play London. Thank you. Charles Rush sends in a question. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate it. Charles says the following. Full PPR, Rashee Rice or Javonte Williams? I prefer to play Rashee Rice there. Thank you. Carlos Laurie sends in a question. Says, I need help to get to 10 wins. Okay, sounds good here. Here we go. Carlos, here's your question. Says, I need to play 2 wide receivers and 2 flex in a full PPR. I have Diggs, Deontay, Keaton, Kincaid, Higgins, DeMario, and Goddard. Okay, so we know that Diggs is an automatic play. I think Deontay Johnson also has to be played. I'd probably, if it's my team, I'd go with Diggs, Deontay, DeMario, Douglas, and probably in a full PPR, I'd probably play Goddard there, to be honest. So Diggs, Deontay, DeMario, Goddard. Thank you. Let's hear. Maravilla sends in a question as a follow up. Says, you have Carlos Santos ranked higher than most experts. I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but okay. Are you not concerned about the weather? That the weather is a to be determined thing about tomorrow, right? Again, I think the majority of the rankings that are currently on screen are set there as like a precursor if you have someone that is playing today, right? So like if you have someone playing between the Minnesota Vikings and Cincinnati Bengals, Colts and Pittsburgh Steelers, Lions, or Denver Broncos, this is set as such. The weather changes so much within a given week. Like last week, right? We were panicking about the idea of that Rams and Ravens game being a complete, downpour of rain. They were saying 98% chance of rain within the contest. We get to Sunday, and that's a clear game, and they're passing the entire contest, right? So weather is something that I'm not too keen on ranking for just yet. There's a reason why I still have guys like Thielen ranked high. There's still guys like, specifically even on the opposite side of that matchup, Drake London is ranked high. If that weather game in the Carolina contest is a disaster, it'll adjust accordingly. But for right now, I just leave it as such because that's where I have them ranked if there's no problems. If there is a problem, then we adjust it accordingly. But again, that's a precursor for tomorrow. Rankings will change as they typically do prior to Sunday, or by the time we get to Sunday. Connor sends in a question. Connor says, Gibbs, Montgomery, St. Brown, Ayuk, Laporta, Mixon, Nakua, Chase, Kittle, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver, flex 1. Okay. 2 running backs out of the following. Out of the following, and is this a full PPR? Yeah. If it's a full PPR, I'd probably go Mixon with Gibbs. As for your 2 wide receivers, I would go with St. Brown and Ayuk. And as for your flex, okay. It's 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, 1 tight end. Got it. Okay. So 2 running backs, again, it's Gibbs and Mixon. The wide receivers are St. Brown and Ayuk. The 2 flex options are Nakua and Chase. And the tight end, obviously, because you have Laporta and there's no other tight end, you have Kittle. Jeez. Christmas. You play Kittle at tight end. You bench Laporta. Thank you. All right, man. But Laporta's got a really good matchup against Denver today. Jeez. This is the problem that you have, Connor. You have a blessing and a curse all together. You have too many good options. And you also have 4 Detroit Lions on your team, which obviously is just too much. It's OD. But yeah, I would continue as the way I have it. I'd play Gibbs, Mixon, St. Brown, Ayuk, Nakua, Chase, and Kittle. Thank you. Somebody asked PPR, Thielen or Downs. Again, assuming that Carolina weather is not a disaster tomorrow, it's Thielen over Downs. Let's see here. But again, look, we don't know the weather as of tomorrow. So you might have to play Josh Downs today unless you have an alternative pivoting option for tomorrow. Time will tell. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay. Michael Delavella sends in a question. Where's Michael's question, though? Michael Delavella says, thank you, non-PPR Montgomery, Moss, Hall. Choose one, please. If I'm picking one of the 3, I'll play Montgomery. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Paul DeSantis, who says, in a half PPR, I need 2 out of the 4. Higgins, London, Cooks, Godwin. If I'm playing 2 of 4, this is what, in a half PPR? Correct. Okay. So, as you can see on screen, top right specifically, we have top 36 wide receivers as of this morning. I have London at 31. I have Godwin at 33. I have Brandon Cooks at 29. And the alternative option also was Higgins, which I don't have ranked. So it would be Drake London and Brandon Cooks half PPR. Those would be the 2 out of the 4. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, Valley. Valley sends in a question. Says, wide receiver 1 is Lamb. My wide receiver 2 is Diggs. Help with who I started in the flex, Zeke, Olave, or Devontae Smith. Yeah, Olave's injury pretty much kind of keeps him out of this conversation. The return of Dallas Goedert pretty much diminishes the value of Devontae Smith unless he scores a touchdown. I'd lean towards Zeke there. Thank you. Where are we at? Okay, we're good to go. Ashley Mullins sends in a question. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Says, lineup help. I need 2 wide receivers, 2 flex out of the following players that we have. We have Jefferson, Waddle, Metcalf, Sutton, OBJ, ETN, Taysom Hill. And then as for defenses, Kansas City or Falcons. All right, first and foremost, defense-wise, I'll just go ahead and present those on screen as well. We have Kansas City at 2, and we have the Atlanta Falcons at 3. So I'll take Kansas City taking on the New England Patriots as of this weekend. As for your follow-up or your prior question, 2 wide receivers and 2 flex, you have so many great options, but the ones that I would go with this week are Metcalf, Jefferson as your 2 starting wide receivers, and I'd probably end up going Sutton and ETN as your 2 flex options. Now, if we get into a position in which, so this is the way I preface it. Jefferson and Metcalf as your 2 wide receiver. Actually, scratch it. Let's rewind that. Jefferson and Sutton are your 2 wide receivers because they both play today. We want to keep our flex spots open in case of injury and or pivoting options. So, Ashley, you would go with Jefferson and Sutton as your 2 starting wide receivers. You would play Metcalf alongside of ETN at your flex. If, in fact, by the time we get to tomorrow's slate of games, if they say that Tyreek Hill is going to be inactive, I would play Waddle over ETN. Otherwise, you keep ETN and Metcalf within your flex with Jefferson and Sutton as your starting wide receivers. Thank you. Again, Kansas City over Falcons. Chris Moraga sends in a question. Says, PPR, pick 2 between DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua. Yeah, in a full PPR scoring format, I don't know if Denzel Ward is active. If Denzel Ward is active, I'm going to move down DJ Moore a pretty considerable amount. But as of right now, under the assumption that Denzel Ward does not play for the Cleveland Browns this weekend, it would be DJ Moore and Puka Nacua. If by the time we get to tomorrow's game and they say Denzel Ward is active, and considering the volume of man coverage that defense plays, I would play Garrett Wilson alongside of Puka Nacua. Thank you, Chris. Anonymous sends in a question, says in a half PPR flex, Deontay Foreman versus Cleveland, Downs, Charbonnet, Pop Douglas. Thoughts? In a half PPR, it really is between Deontay Foreman and Pop Douglas. Let me check who I have ranked higher. It's probably going to be Foreman because he has the highest potential for upside in terms of touchdown work. I currently have Foreman 2 spots ahead of Douglas in my flex rankings. Yeah, so I go with Foreman there against Cleveland. Thank you, Anonymous. Bassa B says, standard, if Aaron Jones is out, who should I flex between Rashid Shaheed, Jamar Chase, Brown? Oh, sorry, that's not Jamar Chase. That's Chase Brown. Sorry, I thought there was a comma in between it. Rashid Shaheed, Chase Brown, Kareem Hunt, and Jerick McKinnon. If Aaron Jones is out, who would I play out of the following? In a standard scoring format, I'd probably end up playing. Man, that's tough. Really tough. They probably take a couple deep shots. I think conventional wisdom and so this is what I'll preface with, Bassa. Considering we don't know if Aaron Jones is active until tomorrow, Chase Brown is not even a negotiable option here. He can't be started because you're waiting to see if Aaron Jones plays. So Chase Brown stays on the bench. I think McKinnon in standard league, very difficult to trust. I think it's between Kareem Hunt and Shaheed. Kareem Hunt has the potential of scoring a touchdown any given week. I'd probably still play Rashid Shaheed ahead of him. I think the yardage alone will probably be enough to convince me in that direction. If there's touchdown implicated within Shaheed's performance, if in fact, this is what I'll say. If Aaron Jones is out and Olave is active, I would play Kareem Hunt. If Aaron Jones is out and Olave is inactive, I would play Shaheed. Also, follow-up question, which defense, Dolphins or Bengals? I have the Dolphins as my number 1 defense on the week. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We had a question that was sent in from Carlos. Carlos, thank you very much. Carlos says, having Montgomery and Christian McCaffrey as my 2 starting running backs, okay, Sutton and Reed as my starting wide receivers, who should I flex between OBJ and Swift? If it's a half PPR, Swift I have there, and OBJ, where art thou? I have Swift ahead of OBJ in a half PPR and a standard. I have OBJ ahead of Swift in a full PPR, okay? So Swift in a half, standard, OBJ in a full. Thank you. Question from Lincoln, who says lineup help, start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a singular flex. All right, so of the following options that you have, half PPR, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Zeke, Kyron Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs. The 2 running backs that I'm playing this week are Kyron Williams and Zeke. The 2 wide receivers that I'm suggesting you start this week or Jamar Chase with Puka, and I would probably end up playing. Goodness, in a half PPR. Is it Jefferson or is it Gibbs? Let's see who I've ranked higher. Jefferson. I have Gibbs ahead of him. So in this current circumstance, it would go Chase, Puka, Zeke, Kyron, Gibbs. But you need the highest potential for upside, is what you're mentioning. Highest potential for ups. Man, that's tough. That's a tough statement. Does Justin Jefferson have more upside than Jahmyr Gibbs? We know that Jahmyr Gibbs, his upside is 20 points. I think it's the same thing for Justin Jefferson, but who has the safer floor of production? That's because you're not going to always get upside performances. Who has a safer floor of production? Against Denver? I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs. I honestly, out of the available options you have, I'd probably say Jefferson, which is crazy. But yeah, nobody called me a sane person. I've always been crazy. If Darren Waller plays, where do you rank him? Honestly, if he plays, which again, there's some rumors that he will. I don't know if the tight end is going to be utilized much in that offense. I'd probably have him if he plays. I'd probably have him like 17 or 18 at tight end. Phil sends in a question, says, in one league, I started 1-3, but with your help, I managed to get to the number 1 seed. I'm 10-4 currently. Congratulations, Phil. In my other league, I'm at 11-3, and I'm currently the 2nd seed. For the 11-3 team, full PPR, do I start Puka, Nacua, Chase, or Gibbs in the flex? If I'm starting one of the three, I'm starting in a full PPR. Where do I have Chase accordingly? Let's see here. Full PPR wide receiver. I have Puka, Nacua ahead of Chase, but they're both the same tier. I still, yeah. Jeez, man. I'm probably playing Puka in there against Washington. If you want to play Chase, I don't have a problem with it. They're literally back-to-back in my rankings, and they're the same tier of wide receiver. Thank you. DXMan100 says, hey, Andrew, am I crazy to... Okay. I'm in a crazy super flex league where quarterbacks get a point per 10 yards. Okay, that's just ridiculous. Okay. 2 points per 40-yard plays, etc. With this, quarterback 2, Joe Flacco or Gardner Minshew. Yeah, I mean, out of those two options, 10. Wow. Okay, let's see here. I'm just curious as the yardage. Yardage as of late for Joe Flacco has been pretty solid. How about Gardner Minshew? They've been pretty solid, but I think Joe Flacco has the slight advantage here. I'll take Joe Flacco out of the group. I go Flacco, Minshew, and then I would not pick up Case Keenum. Thank you. Vlad has sent in a question. Thank you, Vlad. Vlad's question was the following. Vlad says, 49ers defense or Browns defense this week? I'll take the 49ers. Baker Mayfield or Jake Browning? I'll take Jake Browning. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came from Danny D, who says full PPR. Okay. Zay, Hollywood, Deontay, Downs, Douglas. If I'm starting one, it would be Zay Flowers. If I'm starting two, the second option would be Deontay Johnson. Thank you, Danny. Niall Worrell. Is it Niall? I think it's Niall. Niall Worrell says, Rams, Saints, or Cowboys? If I'm picking one of the three defense, I'd go Saints 1, Rams 2, Cowboys 3. Thank you. For this week specifically, of course. Let's see here. Jesse sends in a question, says PPR, Amari Cooper or Devon Achane? As of right now, considering the injury and the PPR format, I'll take Amari Cooper this week. Thank you. Hakima sends in a question, says, salutations, Andrew. Would it be crazy to play... would I be crazy for playing Atlanta's defense over the 49ers defense? No, I have them ranked over the 49ers defense, so I don't consider that to be crazy. But this is what I will suggest. So currently I have the Falcons at 3 and the 49ers at 4. If you're playing in a league in which you have both these defenses, and you have the ability to maybe drop the Falcons and then go pick up another defense in preparation of next week and just play the 49ers, that could work as well. But if you're just, like hard set on, yes, I'm trying to play the better defense, I wouldn't say objectively one is significantly better than the other, but I think they're both in great matchups and they're both pretty solid defenses as a whole. And if the weather is as disastrous as it could potentially be in Carolina tomorrow within that game for Atlanta, it'll only help their defense in terms of their potential for upside. But for right now, yeah, I have it ranked as such. If you want, you could drop the Atlanta and go pick up a defense for next week in preparation. Maybe go pick up the Denver defense, or something of that extent. Maybe you go pick up Green Bay next week because they take on Carolina. But yeah, they're both pretty good options as of right now. That was your question. Okay, thank you, Hakima. Bob France says, play one in a full PPR. David Njoku, Jaden Reed, Hollywood Brown, or Goddard. Okay, so I'm fairly certain. Let's see here. Where do I have Reed in comparison to David Njoku? I have David Njoku ranked lower than Jaden Reed. I have Brown lower ranked. And yeah, so right now, Bob, I would suggest playing Jaden Reed this week. Thank you. Sergio says, who should I start, Tua or Browning? I'd play Browning today. Thank you. Chris Curry says, PPR, Jaden Reed or Chandler? How close is it? Let me check. Jaden Reed is there. And, okay, so I have Jaden Reed. Let's see here. How many spots ahead of him? He is 8 spots ahead of Ty Chandler in my full PPR rankings. So I will take Jaden Reed there, but he is 8 spots ahead. In terms of tier, there are 2 separate tiers of rankings and a flex. Thank you. Chris Rosado sends in a question, says, start 2.5 PPR, Walker, Reed, Goddard, and Chuba Hubbard. If I'm starting 2 of the 4, probably Reed and Chuba Hubbard there. I could consider playing Walker alongside of Chuba Hubbard, but again, it's very much so dependent on a touchdown. For right now, I just lean towards playing Reed and Chuba. Thank you. Arthur sends in a question, says, likely or CEH in a full PPR? Let me check who I have ranked higher. I'm fairly certain. Let's see here. Isaiah Likely is ranked there. Clyde Edwards is ranked lower than him. So I will take Clyde Edwards in a full PPR capacity. Sorry, I'll take Likely in a full PPR capacity. Okay, let's see here. We took care of that. Somebody was asking Najee Harris or Lockett in a full PPR. I'd probably just play Lockett there. Zach Moss or Chase in a flex. I'd probably play Chase there. Elliott, Gibbs, Hall in a half PPR. Going to pick 2. Who am I starting? Matthew McCoy. I would suggest playing Elliott and Gibbs because that's what is ranked on screen. If you guys are just joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, trying to catch up on all the questions that I possibly can. We're about an hour and a half through the stream. We have another hour and a half ahead of us answering questions. The rankings that are on screen as it currently stands are up to date as of this morning for a half PPR scoring format, 4-point per passing touchdown. So if you have any questions in regards to, the rankings as to, potentially that question that was just posed, hopefully the rankings that are on screen can help you come to your conclusion as to what you could potentially go with. But that's just my suggestion as to what I would do with if it was my team. Thank you. B Normie sends in a question. Where's B Normie's question though? It doesn't seem like it's attached. B Normie. All right, B Normie says in a full PPR, I have Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, DJ Moore, Aaron Jones questionable. Okay. My running backs consist of Jones, Najee Harris. What do we have? Chandler, Dylan, McKinnon. My wide receivers are Reek, Olave, DJ, Lockett, Amari Cooper. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex. I have McBride on my bench 2 with Kittle starting. Okay. So Tyreek Hill plays if he's active. I think DJ Moore under the assumption that I think DJ Moore plays regardless of whether or not. Yeah. So it would probably be okay. So your 2 wide receivers are Reek and DJ Moore. Your 2 running backs, assuming Aaron Jones is active, is Chandler. Oh, wow. Okay. You're in a tough spot here. I think your best play for this week, B Normie, considering you have Najee and Chandler as your 2 best running backs, and then you have Aaron Jones and Dill. Yeah. So for right now, I'd suggest playing Najee Harris and Chandler as your running backs today. I'd go with Tyreek Hill and DJ Moore as your wide receivers. In your flex, I would probably in a full PPR play Trey McBride. The only way I would ever not play him is if Aaron Jones is active tomorrow and AJ Dillon isn't. Thank you. Appreciate it, B Normie. We had a question that flowed in. Let's see here. From Hank. Hank Hennig says, in a full PPR, pick 2, Lockett, Kincaid, Deontay, Pop Douglas. Starting Flowers already. Cool. So, Hank, I would suggest playing Lockett and Deontay Johnson. Thank you. Appreciate it. FGF 1979 sends in a question, says Lions defense or Cowboys defense? For today, I would play the Cowboys defense. I do not like the Lions defense. They've just been a funnel. Their secondary is awful, and their defense just as of late has been. I mean, the fact that they've been exposed by the Bears speaks volumes. So for right now, yeah, I'll take the Cowboys defense over them. As for your follow-up question, Rams defense or Titans defense, I will take the Titans defense this week. And then your follow-up question to that is pick 2 out of the following 5 for my flex. My current league is running back, wide receiver, tight end, PPR, 1 point for tight end, and 0.6 for wide receivers, 0.3 for running backs, 5 points. Oh, man, wow. All right. Very well. So pick 2 of 5 for flex. Cool. So if I'm picking 2 of the 5 between K. Dotton, Gus Edwards, Alec Pierce, Noah Brown, Jamison Williams, as of right now, I'd play K. Dotton and Noah Brown. FGF, thank you. Appreciate it. We had Braden Price sends in a question, says half PPR, Rashee Rice, DeAndre Swift, Ty Chandler. Let's see who I have ranked higher in a half. Let's see where Rice is in comparison. Rashee Rice is there. Ty Chandler is there. Yeah, I'd take Rashee Rice over the group. Thank you. Chipmo says Flacco or Murray. Let me see who I have ranked higher. I have Flacco ahead of Murray as of right now. Zachary Westbrook sends in a question, says DeVito or Flacco? I have Flacco ahead of DeVito this week. Pick 2, Flowers, Puka, and JJ. I'll take Flowers and Puka. Thank you. Forsaken says, why is Love ranked below Howell and Geno and Russell? Howell's been more consistent. Geno has a better matchup, and Howell is, the most consistent of the bunch. The reason why I honestly have, the reason primarily why I have Jordan Love as low ranked as I do, Christian Watson's absence, Luke Musgrave injury, and the fact that I don't even know who's starting at running back this week. That all is a recipe for, pretty much a disaster in my mind, in comparison to the alternative options of playing Howell, Geno, Russell, who Russell's been incredible as of late. Howell's been great all season, and Geno Smith has one of the best matchups and is probably going to light up that Eagles defense. Jackson Cancel sends in a question, says Ayuk, Moss, Montgomery, full PPR. I'll play Ayuk out of the 3. Thank you. Alrighty, where are we at? We had a question that came in from Pineset again. Let's see here. Andy Moss, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words in the chat, Andy. Pineset. All right. Answer the first part. So trying to, again, flex. Garrett Wilson, Isaiah Likely, Ty Chandler, Javonte Williams. Pineset, what is the scoring format here? If you're still in the chat, Pineset, do me a solid. Type just in the live chat and let me know what your scoring format is so I can get an idea. Thank you. X Creation says, Ravens defense or Saints defense? I like the Saints defense this week. Can I trust Jordan Addison or start Josh Downs or Rashid Shaheed instead? For right now, I would lean towards the idea of playing Downs or Shaheed. If I was to pick one of the two, I'd probably lean towards playing Shaheed this week. Sergio Soto says, on flex, should I start Chris Godwin? Christian Watson is going to be inactive. Jordan Addison or Kenneth Walker? Najee Harris, Ty Chandler. Okay. So as of right now, if I'm picking one of these options as a flex, I'm playing Ty Chandler. Number 2 would be Najee Harris. Number 3 would be Kenneth Walker. 4, Chris Godwin. 5, Addison. Christian Watson's inactive. Thank you. Let's see here. Niall Worrell says, maybe I'm a little biased. I'm a Giants fan. But how do we feel about the game in terms of Saints defense? Ravens or Saints? Look, I think the running game of the Giants is good enough, truly, in itself, to be able to find success against the Saints. I just don't want to put too many eggs into the Tommy DeVito basket and assume that he could light up that secondary. So for right now, I'm going to be a little bit cautious with it, and I do prefer the Saints defense over the Ravens. I mean, look, the Ravens are a solid defense overall. I think they just have their hands full with Trevor Lawrence. That's the only issue there, in comparison to the Saints, who have the easier matchup against their opposing quarterback. Let's see here. DZ Dallas says half PPR Deontay Johnson or Jerome Ford in the flex. Let me check here. Deontay is there, and Jerome Ford is ranked lower. So I take Deontay Johnson this week. Thank you. All right, let me see if I can. Pine Set, where are you at? Pine Set, you in the chat yet? No? All right, Pine Set, in terms of your question, perhaps if you're listening, if it's a full PPR, I'm playing Garrett Wilson. If it's a half PPR, I'm playing Javonte Williams. Thank you. Okay, we had a question that came in from Pepperoni Tony. You know Pepperoni Tony? I don't know if it's your name. Sometimes I walk around the house and I say Pepperoni Tony. I don't know if I'm referring to you or if it's just the fact that the name rhymes. I'm not 100% certain as to what the case is, but I mean, I'll take it. Either way, Pepperoni Tony, thank you. Says, if Olave is out, who should I flex? My options are Keaton Mitchell, Josh Downs, Dalton Kincaid, Romeo Doubs, and Singletary. If Chris Olave is out in a full PPR, I'm probably playing Doubs, number 1, Singletary 2, Kincaid 3, Keaton Mitchell 4, and Josh Downs will not have played because he plays today. So, yeah, it would probably be playing Doubs or Singletary, and I'll lean towards Doubs in a full PPR. Dior Kev says, why do we not like Indianapolis defense this week? Why do we not like? I mean, I have them. Do I not have them ranked? I think they're number 13. Let me check my my Patreon rankings. Yeah, they're my number 13 ranked defense. It's not that I don't like them. It's just I'm sketched out about them. That's the only thing. Let's see here. Josh Dobbs is a healthy scratch. Wow, they're not even activating him, bro. They just sent him to the Shadow Realm. Well, that is unfortunate. Darius Slay is out Monday night against the Seahawks. Man, that makes DK Metcalf an even better play. You know what's funny? Darius Slay, okay, they just announced that he's out. On top of that, the opposite side of the field, James Bradbury, has allowed 8 receiving touchdowns this season. Like, I'm telling you, man, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, JSN, they're going to, this is the week. Monday Night Football. All right, anyway, Sergio sends in a question. Says, half PPR pick one between Downs, Pickens, and Mitchell. If I'm playing one of the 3.5 PPR, I'll play Keaton Mitchell. Thank you. Romeo Connor says, flex half PPR, Antonio Gibson or Cortland Sutton. I'll take Cortland Sutton there. Thank you, Romeo. Shane sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, week 15 bye, a number 2 waiver pick. Do I save or grab Packers / Santos for week 16? Have the Browns defense and kicker. Also, why Swift over Achane? Okay, so first and foremost, the Achane reasoning is because Achane, questionable to play. I don't even know if he's going to be active. If he's active tomorrow, I will move him up, but I currently have him at 24 just to be safe because I don't know his current status. As for your other question, you have the number 2 waiver, and those are the available options. I would not waste my waiver. There's always the potential of somebody getting hurt this week and you wanting to keep that number 2 waiver option, not only to improve your team, but potentially, screw over somebody else's team. You want to pick up the running back as a backup that is associated with another running back that may have gotten injured so that you're good to go. So for right now, keep your waiver spot. And until tomorrow, until we see whether or not Achane's active, Swift over him. Thank you. Kiwi Sports Mage with a follow-up question. Thank you, Kiwi. Kiwi says, in a half PPR, Zeke or Flowers? Let me check who I have ranked higher. As of right now, in a half PPR, I currently have it as, goodness gracious, Ezekiel Elliott. Where's Flowers? I have Zeke ahead of Flowers at a half PPR. Thank you. I have Flowers over Zeke in a full. C. Manich says, likely Hubbard, Foreman, Curtis Samuel, full PPR flex. Great question. It's probably, let me check. I don't want to actually jump to a conclusion, but I'm thinking it's Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is there. Isaiah Likely is below him, and so is Curtis Samuel. Yeah, it's Chuba Hubbard. That's where I would go. C. Manage. Thank you. Let's see here. Matt sends in a question. Thank you, Matt. Matt says, full PPR, Deontay Johnson, Kenneth Walker, or Curtis Samuel. In a full PPR, I'll take Deontay Johnson there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Question from Michael Amato, who says 12 team, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex league, full PPR. My quarterbacks are Goff and Browning. Okay. My running backs are Swift, CEH, Gus. My wide receivers are AJ, CD, Puka, London, Curtis Samuel. My tight end is McBride or Likely. I'm thinking of playing both tight ends over London in the flex. In a full PPR, let me check where I have Likely in comparison to London. I have London over Likely. Let me see here. So you're starting 3 wide receivers in a flex. So you obviously are starting Swift and CEH. You at quarterback between Goff and Browning. I prefer Goff. But Goff, Swift, CEH, AJ Brown obviously plays. CD Lamb obviously plays. Puka Nacua obviously plays. And then as for your flex option, playing Likely over London, I would leave London in there, to be honest. And I'd play McBride at tight end. But if you want to play Likely, that's fine by me. I don't have a problem with it. John says full PPR, Michael Pittman Jr. or Cup. No, I have Cup ranked higher than Michael Pittman. I have actually in a full PPR. Does Cup go up in my? I think I just leave him as is. Yeah, no, I'm still gonna keep. Like Michael Pittman Jr. does go up in a full PPR ranking, but yeah, I think Cup is. I mean, that matchup against the Washington Commanders is as easy as it possibly gets. It truly is, guys. All right, let's see here. We had a question that was coming in from Hector Martinez. Thank you, Hector. It says half PPR, Odell Beckham, Drake London, Noah Brown, Godwin. Thanks. Between those 4, I would play Odell Beckham Jr. Again, rankings on screen. I have it ranked as OBJ, London, and then who were your other options again? Noah Brown would be, it would be go OBJ, London, Godwin, then Noah Brown in that order. Thank you, Hector. Cheeseburger Eddie, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Stim Bayless says, hey, Andrew, full PPR. Need help in my flex, Garrett Wilson or Zach Moss. In a full PPR, I'd rather play Garrett Wilson, to be honest. Garrett Wilson's probably going to get himself like 8 catches, 80 yards at a base minimum without even touchdown upside. It'd be very difficult for Zach Moss, in my mind, to be able to eclipse a 16-point base of production without a touchdown. All right, let's see here. GT says, opponent has Kupp/Kyren Williams, so I claim Stafford. Start Stafford, Browning, Howell this week and rest of season. Stafford, I like a lot this week against Washington. Washington's the literal best matchup at the quarterback position. They're allowing over 21 fantasy points per game in terms of passing statistics isolated, so passing yards, touchdowns, and interceptions. Over the course of the last, I would say, 9 weeks here? Weeks 5 through 14. So I'm leaning in the direction of playing Matthew Stafford there, number 1, Howell 2, Browning 3. As for your follow-up question in terms of rest of the season, I'd have to look at their schedules, but as of right now, I'd probably say if Stafford continues to cook at the rate in which he has, I mean, I'm looking at the Rams schedule here. I'd probably go Rams. I'd probably go Stafford rest of the season. Let me see what do we have for Commanders. They have They have the Jets and the 49ers. Let's not do that. It would be Stafford rest of season. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Colin Smith. Thank you, Colin. It says Matt Gay, Nick Folk, or the Rams kicker. So of those 3 options, I have Matt Gay number 3. I have the Rams kicker number 4. And who is the last option? Nick Folk. Nick Folk is not on my top 12 rankings, but he's in my top 15 rankings. I'll tell you that much. But for right now, I will take the Rams kicker taking on the Washington Commanders. Thank you. All right, let's see here. What do we have? So, of the following, where are we? I'll just leave the kicker and defensive rankings on screen for a little bit here. Dejuan Golden says, question in the chat. Thank you. Good luck, everyone. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Dejuan, what are we at? Dejuan's question is, would you ride Eckler, McLaurin, Rice, or Odell Beckham for the playoffs? My playoffs are week 16 and 17. It's probably going to be Rashee Rice. That's who I would say. He's been so productive as of late. It's tough not to suggest him. Thank you. Michael Amato says, where do you have Dustin Hopkins and Chiefs defense ranked? Chiefs defense is my number 2, and Dustin Hopkins in terms of kicker rankings. Let me see. I have Dustin Hopkins as my number 14 kicker this week. Cool. Caught up there. Why Hopkins over Puka? I think that Kupp is the preferred number 1. I think Hopkins against the Texans, the revenge game, The touchdown upside, the target volume that he's had 12 targets each of the last 2 weeks slightly leans me in his direction. I think the matchup is just as good. Actually, I wouldn't say that it's just as good. I think that the Washington Commanders matchup is significantly more of an advantageous one for Puka Nacua. But considering D-Hop in his matchup against the Texans, who have Case Keenum as their starting quarterback, no Nico Collins, no Tank Dell, I think this could be a game in which it should be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans got blown out again like they did last week. They got blown out, 30-6? They missed a PAT. I wouldn't be surprised if that took place again. Honestly. Hey, Andrew, can you give me a little peek into your mind in terms of why you have Mixon ranked in your top 12? Just curious because the Vikings defense are great. Yeah, the only reason I primarily have him there is because I do expect that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to move the ball. I don't expect this to be a game in which the Minnesota Vikings are able to shut down the Raiders, the Cincinnati Bengals like they did to the Raiders last week. I think they'll be able to score a pretty good amount of points. The primary reason why I have Mixon in the top 12 capacity is because of receiving usage and goal line work. Considering he has scored, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and he's had himself, if I'm not mistaken, 13 targets in the last 2 games. That usage in itself, on top of the fact he's probably in line for 15 rushing attempts, in itself, it's very similar to like Zeke production. I don't want to compare it identically, but if it's a running back who's going to get himself 15 touches on the ground, at probably 4 or 5 receptions through the air and has goal line opportunity, it's tough to not rank them in that overall top 50 or top 12 capacity. I understand it's a difficult matchup, but even last week's matchup for the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Colts, I think Mixon could have been a little bit more efficient with his overall rushing attempts. It wasn't as great as he could have been. The week prior to that, against who did they take on? They took on Jacksonville that one week, and then the following week after was against Jacksonville, which they light them up. Jacksonville's defense is not, that's not a joke either in terms of run stop, and they still ran through them. Yeah, that's just the primary reason. It's opportunity share, it's goal line opportunity, and of course the fact that he gets a lot of receptions. But yeah, I will concede the point that it is a good defense. That's for sure. All right, we had a question that came in from Chris Moraga, who says, Achane, Laporta, or Hubbard? Half PPR, flex 1. If I'm flexing one of the 3, I'd probably play Laporta today. Jukester says, worried about teams having enough tape on Browning? I think enough tape on Browning would be like 7 or 8 games, not 3. But it's possible. Because if the logic of like teams having tape on quarterbacks is a 3, if 3 games is enough, then, we should all be deathly afraid of playing any of our Giants. Okay, just taking care of that. We're good to go. LJ sends in a question, says, good morning, Andrew. First, full PPR. I need an RB2 and a flex between Ford, OBJ, Lockett, and Warren. Okay, of those options in a full PPR scoring format, I would play Lockett as the flex, and I would play Warren as the RB2. As for your second league full PPR, I need a flex between Ford, OBJ, Lockett, and Chandler. In a full PPR, would I play Lockett or Chandler? Let's check. Lockett. I have Lockett ahead of Chandler. So again, review, LJ. Warren and Lockett the first league, and then Lockett in the second league. Thank you. Would you play Barkley versus the Saints and the Saints defense, or pivot to the Titans defense? For the sake of your enjoyment, I would say you pivot to the Titans defense. Out of the sake of potential fantasy points, I still like the Saints. But out of the sake of your enjoyment in terms of rooting for Saquon Barkley, I don't mind the pivot, to be honest. Aaron Jones or Jaden Reed full PPR? I'd probably just play Jaden Reed there, considering I don't even know if Aaron Jones is active and or whether or not A.J. Dillon's going to play. So for right now, I'd lean towards Jaden Reed. We can address it once again tomorrow, if in fact anything changes. Colts defense or Kansas City or Saints? I like Kansas City's this week, Tate. Should I drop the Texans or Patriots defense for the Rams this week? Yeah, both. I don't think you can really justify starting the Patriots defense against Patrick Mahomes and the boys, so I would. And I don't really like the Patriots defense rest of the season either. So let's see here. Hey man, love the content. Need some help here to fill in my RB, wide receiver, and flex spots. We have Mostert, Moss, Zeke, Cup, Puka, and Rice. Out of those options, it's probably Mostert at running back, Cup at wide receiver, and most likely playing someone like Zeke in the flex. Oliver. All right, let's see here. We had a question that was sent in from Abil. Abil, thank you very much. It says Laporta or McBride. And for flex, Puka Nakua, Swift, Sutton, or Chandler. Okay, so for the flex, assuming it's a half PPR, full PPR, and not a standard league, I'm playing Puka Nakua in the flex. As for your third question, saying also, should I bench Diggs? No, you have to play Diggs in any week that you have him. But Puka is the wide receiver that I would play there. As for Laporta and McBride, the primary reason why I prefer McBride over Laporta, despite the difficult matchup, is target opportunity. I know that they're going to be in a negative game script, and I know for a fact, based on the stats we've seen, McBride is averaging 9 targets per game with Kyler Murray this season. Laporta has up and down games. This could be an up game against an advantageous matchup. I mean, they're back-to-back ranked. They're both in the same tier in terms of my overall rankings. So I could justify starting one over the other. They're both tier 3 tight ends as of this current moment in time, ranked 4 and 5. But yeah, as of right now, the target share that McBride gets in comparison is so significant on a consistent basis that it leans me in his direction. All right, let's see here. Do I start Chandler today, or this is from Tom T? Thank you, Tom. Do I start Chandler today or wait for tomorrow to figure out whether or not it's Olave or Achane? Shoot. In a full PPR, I think I wait. Man, it's so sketchy. Look, this will be my only issue, Tom. If I'm you, I probably just start Ty Chandler, because if in fact, let's say for example, we go tomorrow and both are inactive, then what? We're in trouble, right? I think it's probably just safe to play Chandler. I hate having to make a decision out of fear, but I have a legitimate fear that both these guys could be inactive by tomorrow. Tyrone Jenkins says, any thoughts on Wallard playing? If Wallard is active this week and he's full ready to go, I probably have him as my number 17 ranked tight end. Could be a little bit higher, but again, not sure how much production we'll get out of him. I will say, the New Orleans Saints are the second or third best matchup at tight end. So Waller could be a great play this week. I just don't know what to expect coming off the hamstring injury, what kind of usage he'll get in terms of snap counts. Was he full participant in practice this week, or was it limited? Let me check. Injury report. Let's go to the Giants really quickly. Let's take a little skim at this. Darren Waller, limited practice. So he didn't practice Wednesday. He was limited Thursday and Friday. He's still questionable to play. If he's active, yeah, I think 17 is a pretty good spot for him for right now. Don't want to, overrank him and get us burnt by that. Let's see here. Adam says, no Nico Collins, full PPR, flex 1, CEH, London, Pop Douglas. Between the three, assuming the weather in Carolina is decent, I'm okay playing London. But otherwise, it's probably CEH there. McBride, Ridley, Reed, pick one in a full PPR. In a full PPR, I'm probably going McBride there. Actually, let me think about this. Where do I have them ranked? I think McBride and Reed are probably close in a full PPR in my flex. Let me check here. McBride is there, and Reed is 2 spots below him. So I have McBride at 42 and Reed at 44. So still, yeah, I'll take McBride. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Sabala the Bala, who says, full PPR flex, JSN, Javonte Williams, or Antonio Gibson. I'll take Javonte Williams there. Thank you. Terry Smith says Rice or Sutton PPR. I'll take Rice. Target opportunity and, of course, total receptions as of late. Also, Fields or Love. I'm fairly certain I moved Fields down a slight amount. Let me go ahead and change the rankings on screen. I have Justin Fields currently as my number 11 and Jordan Love as my number 12. Yeah, the only issue that I have with Jordan Love, because I love the matchup, is that the receiving threats and the running backs in this offense are injured. And with Christian Watson out and with the potential of Aaron Jones missing another game or potentially even A.J. Dillon also missing, it does make it a very sketchy, potential play there in comparison. So I'll take Fields and I'll take Rice. Thank you, Terry. Old J Running sends in a question, says PPR, week 16 and 17, do I drop T. Higgins, pick up Deontay Johnson, and drop Keenan I think you meant Keaton instead of Keenan, as in Keaton Mitchell for Ty Chandler. I would be willing to drop Keaton Mitchell for Ty Chandler because the assumption of Alexander Madison's injury is that it's a high ankle sprain and that most likely forces him to miss 3 weeks. If that's going to be the case, Ty Chandler should be the starter and a better option for the next couple weeks here. So I would make that swap there. And I would rather have Deontay Johnson than T. Higgins going forward. Thank you. Andrew Clark had a question. Thank you, Andrew. Says full PPR, 3 wide receivers. We have Godwin, we have Sutton, we have Addison, we have Michael Wilson, we have Wan'Dale Robinson, we have Wicks, Parker, Washington for the Jaguars. And okay, so of those options, Cortland Sutton number 1, Chris Godwin number 2. Number 3 is between all those options. I have number 3 as Wan'Dale Robinson. So that's the way I would approach it in a full PPR this week. Primarily because Wan'Dale Robinson playing predominantly in the slot position, the slot cornerback of, or the nickel cornerback of the New Orleans Saints, is it Jasir Taylor? I believe that's who it is. Either way, whatever the name is, because again, I don't really pay attention too much to defenses because again, we're talking about fantasy football. We're all about the offenses succeeding. The primary nickel cornerback of the Saints has struggled mightily this season. One of the top matchups at wide receiver. So I'll take Wan'Dale as a number 3. As for your follow-up question, Browns or Bears defense this week? I'll take the Browns. As for the last comment, says sat Lamar for love last week cost me. You sat Lamar for love last week. Did I have Lamar ranked higher or lower at the end of the last week's stream? Let me check. I mean, the reason why we were, waffling last week was because of that weather, right? That was the primary issue in terms of anything related to last week. Let's see how I had it ranked at the end of last week's rankings. Let's see, where did I have him? Last week I had Lamar Jackson higher than Jordan Love, but yeah, that's rough, man. That's unfortunate. Yeah, Jordan Love didn't show up last week. Neither did Josh Dobbs. Neither did Stroud. Neither did Goff. Neither did Justin Herbert. There were a lot of quarterbacks last week that I had ranked that just did not show up, even though they typically do. But yeah, I had Lamar Jackson at number 8 last week after we had settled that the weather wasn't going to be a problem at the end of the stream. Let's see here. We had a question from Michael Amato who says, heavy rain and wind in Carolina. Just heads up. Yeah, I'm fully aware. You don't have to remind me, but thank you. I appreciate it, Michael. Gigabytes sends in a question. Says, Andrew, should I drop JSN for Odell Beckham Jr. or Jaden Reed? I would drop him for Jaden Reed. I think Jaden Reed has done enough to justify that. PPR, Zeke or ETN? I would go with Zeke there. Full PPR from Luis Flores in the chat says, full PPR start 2 and 1 flex. Derek, Henry, Gibbs, Montgomery, Moss. In a full PPR, I have a Henry, Gibbs, and Montgomery. Boom, those 3. Thank you. Ashley says, thank you very much. Appreciate it. No problem. Glad I can help. Ruby9 says full PPR Superflex. And in the Superflex, Kyler Murray, Keaton Mitchell, or Deontay Johnson. 1,000% Ruby9, play Kyler Murray. 1,000%. Let's see here. Ahmed says, do you think I drop either Texans or... Yeah, we already took care of that. So yeah, I'm down to drop the Patriots unless you're holding on to them for dear life for some reason. Devin says, I know you have Trevor 1 higher than Browning, but whose ceiling do you think is higher? I think this, I'm telling you, that Vikings defense is no joke. Brian Flores has done a very good job with them this season. Despite not having very many big name players. I mean, obviously they still have Harrison Smith in the backside. What is he, in his 13th year, and he's just like killing it still? I would still, who has the highest upside? Based on what Jake Browning has done and presented the last 2 weeks, I think he's a really solid play. I'd still prefer to play Trevor Lawrence. But I don't mind it if you want to play Jake Browning. They're in my same tier in terms of quarterback rankings. Hopkins or Rice full PPR. I don't mind playing Rice there. I still have Hopkins ahead. Start one said David, T. Higgins, Keaton Mitchell, David Njoku. I will take David Njoku there, David. Forsaken says, is Gus Edwards droppable? I have Derrick Henry, Zeke, Ty Chandler, and Spears. Yes, I would be willing to drop him. But over the course of the last, 3 games here, Keaton Mitchell's out snapping him and out touching him. So it's pretty much done. Vo Innocent says, I have Olave, but he's questionable. Should I go with Shaheed or Deontay Johnson? If it's me, And, oh, man. I would just play Deontay Johnson there. Mustafa says, would it be crazy to start Joe Flacco over Tua? No, actually, I have. Okay, Thursday's video in terms of quarterback rankings, I had Joe Flacco ahead of Tua. The only reason that I currently have Tua ahead of him and currently on my top 16 rankings at quarterback is if, in fact, Tyreek Hill plays. So until tomorrow, we don't know if that's going to be the case, whether or not one way or the other. But if, in fact, Tyreek is inactive, by tomorrow morning's live stream, when it is conducted from 7 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will have Joe Flacco over him if, in fact, Tyreek is out. Why OBJ over Ridley? Matchup, purely. I think in terms of target opportunity, it's going to be very similar. I honestly, as of right now, I do trust the idea of Lamar Jackson rather than Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback, being able to support his wide receivers. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are awful in terms of stopping opposing wide receivers this season. 5th best matchup. Logan Semple sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, with Swift's current struggles, I'm leaning towards going with Chandler, like you have. Does standard scoring change anything? No, I think it actually makes it better for Ty Chandler in that circumstance. So you're going to go there, Logan. Thank you. We had a question that was sent in from James Miller. Thank you, James. It says, Rashee Rice or David Montgomery in a half PPR? Oh, let's check, shall we? I'm fairly certain. I think I'm just going to lean towards David Montgomery there. In a half PPR, I even have Rashee Rice over him. I have Rashee Rice ranked higher than him in a half PPR, so that's where I go. I think they're both pretty safe. Are they in the same tier? They're not in the same tier. I'm going Rashee Rice there. It's kind of crazy, but I like doing crazy things. Here we go. Terry Smith says, who is more safe, Geno or Stafford? I think it's technically Stafford because Geno's still dealing with that groin injury and the elbow injury. So he's got himself a couple. If he gets hit the wrong way, he could, we're going to be in trouble. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Hooky V or Hook V. Says, full PPR, pick 3 for upside. Gibbs, Cook, Rice, Jefferson. Cheers. If I'm looking for pure upside, Gibbs, Rice, and Jefferson. Thank you. Brandon Washington says, what's up, Andrew? Quick question. Fields or Browning? I'll take Fields. Luis Rodriguez says, can't hear your mic. Can't hear you. Turn up your mic. It's on your end, brother. I'm looking at my volume and it's literally maxed out on decibels. So it's got to be on your end. Maybe refresh the page. But if you can't hear me, then you're not going to hear this response anyway, right? Hey, Andrew, good morning. Full PPR. Devon Achane, Zach Moss, Waddle, or McBride. If I'm only playing one of those options, I want to wait and see if Waddle's going to be the play. As of right now, I have Waddle ahead of Moss. I'd lean it towards that direction. But those would be the top 2. Jalen Warren or Keaton Mitchell. Jake Anderson. I'd play Jalen Warren. Jordy Peasy says Gus, Chase Brown, or Pierce. Out of those 3, I have Chase Brown ranked the highest. 2 touchdowns, 50 yards from Gus. I think that's very much so wishful thinking. Very much so. Let's see here. Landlord says, full PPR, Elijah Moore, CEH, or DeMarcus Robinson. I'll take CEH there. Landlord. Ray C says, I got Garrett Wilson and Flowers as my starters. I need one more, Ridley or OBJ PPR. Waivers, rest of the season, Saints wide receiver, if Olave. Yeah, no, for right now, I just play OBJ there. Is the Rams or Texans defense this week better? I'd rather play the Rams defense. Washington, if I'm not mistaken, Sam Howell's thrown a pick 6 in like 3 consecutive games. Like, Washington just makes mistakes, consistently. Let's see here. Start Higgins now if Olave is out, or Shaheed or Zay Jones. Yeah, if this is the way that I would approach it, Ghetto Janitor. I would wait until Olave tomorrow. If he's not active, I play Zay Jones in his stead. Mixon or Montgomery in a standard. I'd rather play Montgomery in a standard. Zay Jones or James Conner full PPR. I'd rather play James Conner there. Actually, do I even have James Conner ranked higher? I'll default to Andrew from about 4 hours ago, who was actually like locked in doing rankings. Yeah, I have James Conner ahead of Zay Jones. Actually, that's in a half PPR. How does it look in a full? Let's see. No, I have Zay Jones higher in a full PPR. Never mind. Hey, Andrew, CEH or Devin Singletary full PPR? I'd rather play CEH as of right now. Luke said, okay, so that, thank you, Luke. Phil 1776 says, likely Schultz or Kincaid? Dolphins or Saints? I'll take likely and I'll take the Dolphins. Thank you. Full PPR. Need a good performance after Eckler burned me, Ty Chandler or Jaden Reed. In a full PPR, if we're looking for like ultimate upside, I think we honestly just play Jaden Reed there. Zay Flowers or Swift in a full PPR. Twisted Piper, I'll take Zay Flowers there. Okay, so we're about 2 hours into the live stream. I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel, continuing to... I think I'm out of focus, aren't I? Am I out of focus? Hello, camera. Wake up, buddy. I am completely out of focus. All right, now it ended up locking back in. There it is. All right, we're good. I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel, joining me this morning, Saturday morning for week 15 in terms of getting everything ready for today's slate of games. Do not forget, tomorrow morning, I'll be back at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time with up-to-date rankings ready to go. Additionally, those rankings will include all the players that are playing tomorrow and on Monday, and will not include any players that play today. So there will be more players included on the rankings that you do not see today, tomorrow. So guys like, for example, Noah Brown, who's currently not on the screen, but is my number 37 wide receiver in a half PPR, will be on the screen tomorrow because there will be no, Amon-Ra's or Michael Pittman's or all those, Chase Jeffersons, all those guys will be off the list. There'll be far more receiving options available for tomorrow's live stream. Okay. Couple reminders. Again, if you guys haven't yet already, click the like button. If you guys have signed up via Underdog Fantasy starting from August 1st, 2023 till yesterday prior to midnight, the rankings have been sent to your email that is associated with your Underdog account. So be sure to check your spam folder. Thank you very much. Is that it? I think we're good to go. If anybody needs any pick'em plays for this weekend, let me know. I think my two favorite plays that I was mentioning yesterday is TJ Hawkinson going higher on receptions and higher on targets, and Michael Pittman Jr. going higher on receptions today. Those are my two favorite plays for today. Another one of my favorite plays for today would be Najee Harris going higher on rushing attempts, and potentially Courtland Sutton anytime receiving touchdown. So those are four good plays there. But the two that I prefer is Hawkinson higher on targets and Michael Pittman Jr. higher on receptions, assuming that the targets are 7.5 and the receptions are 7.0. Still on Underdog Fantasy. Thank you. Alrighty, we had a question that came in from Gabriel Martin. Thank you, Gabriel. It says, who do I start between Singletary, Javonte Williams, and Sutton in a standard scoring format? In a standard scoring league, I would probably play Courtland Sutton there. Touchdown upside is what I'm leaning towards. Thank you. Let's see here. David Evans in the chat was saying PPR Flowers versus the Jaguars, Lockett versus the Eagles, or Pittman versus the Steelers. I am afraid of Joey Porter shutting down Michael Pittman. I wouldn't be afraid of it. I'm playing Michael Pittman number 1, Flowers number 2, and Lockett number 3. Thank you. Hector Gonzalez has a follow-up question. Says 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex of the following: Kyren Williams, Derrick Henry, ETN, Lamb, Jefferson, Moore. Okay, so for right now, Kyren Williams and Derrick Henry are your running backs. Wide receivers are Lamb, and if in fact, okay, we don't know if... I will lean towards playing Lamb and Jefferson as your wide receivers. Put DJ Moore in the flex. Thank you. Marcus Chaps says, hey, Andrew, good morning. Full PPR. Devon Achane, Zach Moss, Waddle, McBride. I think I answered this earlier. I'll take Waddle out of the group. Pick one, James Cook, Ty Chandler, or Antonio Gibson. Where do I have James Cook in a full PPR? Let's check. James Cook is my highest ranked of the 3. El Sway says, if Tyreek Hill can't play, who do I start? Lockett, Amari Cooper, OBJ. Who do I flex? Moss, Lockett, Amari, OBJ. In a full PPR, let me check. Let's see where I have Lockett in comparison to Moss. This is a full PPR, correct? Yes. Out of the group, okay, so Lockett's there, Amari Cooper's there. Got it. And then who else is your other option? OBJ. Out of the following players that you mentioned, Amari Cooper would be number 1, Zach Moss 2, Lockett 3, OBJ 4 in a full PPR elsewhere. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Carver Gaming says, hey, Andrew, full PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown or trust Justin Jefferson? I'd rather play Amon-Ra. The reason is, okay, so here's the thing. It's not a matter of trusting Amon-Ra or Justin Jefferson because they're both very talented receivers. It's a matter of which offense do I trust and which quarterback do I trust. And I do not trust Nick Mullins objectively in comparison to what I've seen from Jared Goff all season long and what I anticipate to potentially see tonight against the Denver Broncos. So for right now, I'm not leaning towards the idea of skill because I think they're both very highly skilled receivers and they're probably going to get themselves a good volume of targets. I do trust Jared Goff, though, in comparison as of right now. Thank you. Let's see here. Cotton Puffman says flex DK, Ford, Moss, or Hopkins. I'd rather play DK Metcalf over the entire group in a full PPR. Richard Duarte says Montgomery or Taysom Hill in the flex full PPR. Montgomery. Raji126 says, is it crazy to start Zay Jones over Deontay Johnson in a half PPR? Is it crazy? No, I don't think it's crazy. I just don't prefer it. Justin sends in a question, says, my starting lineup consists of Russell Wilson, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Cortland Sutton, Justin Jefferson, Isaiah Likely, Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua. Falcons defense. And my bench has Addison, Cooks, Kincaid, Keenan Allen, Ty Chandler, Jahan Dotson. Double flex, full PPR. Do I change anything on this lineup? If you have Javonte and Puka as your flex option, yeah, I wouldn't change anything. You're good to go there, Justin. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're good to go. Taysom Hill or Dobbs in a flex on a standard scoring format? I'd rather play Taysom Hill there in a standard 0 point per reception league. Thank you. Okay, we took care of that. Kyler Murray or Tua or Browning? I'll take Browning there out of the group. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. What else we got? We had a question that came in from McBride or Chandler in a full PPR. Let's see who I've ranked higher. I have McBride higher in a full PPR. Aiden Johnson says, full PPR, RB2 in flex. Achane, Mostert, Hall, DK, Zeke, Evans. RB2 is Mostert. The flex is DK Metcalf. Thank you. Oh, you have Evans too? Yeah, I think I'm playing DK there, especially with Darius Slayton out. It just makes it easier. Spinal Samurai says, thoughts on Waller this week and end of season. I think going forward, he'll have more value. He's still questionable to play this week. He was limited in his Thursday and Friday practices. That's why I'm concerned about him. As of right now, I'm leaning towards the idea of, yeah, I'd probably have him at like tight end 17. He'll be ranked tomorrow. Let's just put it that way. But I don't have too much trust in him just objectively yet. Dan Carroll sends in a super chat. Thank you, Dan. Full PPR, Ty Chandler, Javonte Williams, or Garrett Wilson. I'll take Garrett Wilson in a full PPR. Thank you. Let's see here. Chase or Puka. I think I have them back-to-back ranked in both full and half PPR. Puka ahead of them. But if you want to play Chase, be my guest. I don't have a problem with it. Boom. Okay. Old J Running says, PPR, I have Dallas and the Browns defense. Should I drop either of them and add the Bills for week 16 and 17 as my backup? Yes. I would drop Dallas's defense in order to pick up the Bills defense and play them against the Chargers next week. And maybe the Patriots in week 17. Yes, I would drop Dallas's defense. Primarily because Dallas's upcoming matchups against Miami and Detroit, on top of this week's matchup against the Buffalo Bills, those are great teams across the board. So a little bit worried about that. Gets Knowledge sends in a question. Thank you. Appreciate it. Says Justin Jefferson or Zay Flowers. And DJ Moore or DeAndre Hopkins going against Myers and Adams in a full PPR. As of right now, I prefer Zay Flowers over Justin Jefferson. I prefer DJ Moore. Well, actually, no, I don't prefer DJ Moore. Where do I have him ranked? What's the scoring format? You didn't mention scoring format. So let's say, for example, it's a half PPR. As of right now, under the assumption that we do not see. Yeah, but even then, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins is the play there. DeAndre Hopkins and Zay Flowers. Thank you. BHOM Bomb says, hey Andrew, full PPR, pick 2 to flex in a half PPR. Okay, wait, no. Pick 2 to flex, 1 of 2. I don't even know what that means. Either way, let's pick 2 to flex. Zeke, Achan, Cup, Moss. I'll take Cup and I'll take Zeke there. Could you do a breakdown as to why RB1/2 are Bijan and Hall, wide receiver 1/2 are Lamb and Chase? I'm so confused as to this question, Bomb. If your RB1 and 2 is Bijan and Hall, and your wide receiver 1 and 2 is Lamb and Chase, and those are your following options for flex in a full PPR, you're good to go. Play Zeke and Cup, you're good to go. Thank you, Bomb. Sean Murphy says, is HN actually hurt? Technically, yes. He's on the injury report. And legally, if someone is injured and they have missed practice for any given reason, even if it's a personal reason and they're not actually hurt in their ear, they either took a day off to go, hang out with the family or do something, they have to report it as NIR, like non-injury related. So if at any point there's an injury on the, within the week, it has to be legally designated by them. So yes, he has a toe injury that's assumed to be turf toe. He missed Wednesday's practice, was limited on Thursday and Friday. Actually, I don't even know. No, he missed Thursdays as well. He only practiced limited Friday. So yes, he is actually hurt. Let's see here. We had a question. Why Dak over Allen? Just touchdown upside. I think there's a higher likelihood that Dak scores more touchdowns than Josh Allen in comparison. Obviously, Josh Allen always has like an advantage because of the rushing touchdown upside. He scored 10 rushing touchdowns in the last 11 games, which obviously is a huge uptick. But in terms of passing yardage, passing touchdowns, I think it's in the favor of Dak, especially considering his recent performances. Evan sends in a question. Evan's question is, in a full PPR, 2 flex spots, we have Amari, Achane, London, Ford, likely. Amari Cooper would be number 1. And if Achane's available tomorrow, he'd be number 2. Otherwise, we can pivot to probably playing London. Joe Rubio says, start 1. Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Josh Downs. You don't want to know my answer because I'd tell you to play Gabe Davis, but I think that's just a bad decision. Gabe Davis is so sketchy, but here's the thing. Elijah Moore, I don't expect him to do anything. Josh Downs really hasn't done anything in like 7 weeks. So I probably played Gabe Davis, who has a 50% chance. He either does or doesn't play well. That's the 50% chance. He either scores a touchdown or he doesn't. So as of right now, I'd probably go with Gabe Davis if it's my team. And it's as sketchy as it possibly gets, but I'm a crazy son of a gun. Reed or Chuba Hubbard in the flex. I'd only ever play Reed over Chuba if it's a full PPR. Stephen Drake sends in a question. Thank you, Stephen. Says, I see that you have Geno over Love. Do we still have faith in that? Yes. Especially considering Darius Slayton is out. It's the best. Well, and it's not the best matchup. It's the second best matchup at the quarterback position and the best matchup at the wide receiver position, which, of course, this team, last time out with Geno Smith against the Dallas Cowboys, they lit it up through the air, and they could very easily do the same against the Eagles. Also, Colts defense, okay this week. Yeah, I have the Colts as my number 13 ranked defense. They're a solid play. I have the Bears as my number 14. Or should I have played the Bears? I like the Titans defense this week a lot against the Houston Texans. Especially with the Houston Texans without Stroud and Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Let's see here. Bears, Vikings, or Titans defense. So yeah, large sneaks. I'll take the Titans there. Thank you, Steven. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we at? Sean says full PPR, Zeke, Moss, Etienne, Montgomery, Swift. Out of those options, I'd probably go with like Zeke, Montgomery, and Moss are like the trio there. Etienne, Swift a little bit on the outs. Actually, no, what? Etienne in a full PPR. It probably is Zeke and Etienne there in a full PPR. Sean. All right, let's see here. Did I miss something? Thought I saw something that I missed. Control F. Yeah, we're good to go there. Okay, cool. Okay. Where are we at? Crypto says start Jalen Hurts, with Smith or Brock Purdy with Christian McCaffrey. I don't think the quarterback matters based on what other alternative play. I don't care about stacks. I'm trying to play the highest scoring quarterback. And in my opinion, that's Jalen Hurts this week. So I'll take him over Brock Purdy, crypto. Scano says start 3 running backs: Elliott, Pollard, Kyren, Mixon. Kyren number 1, Pollard 2, Elliott 3. Or you can look at the rankings on screen and that'll probably lead you in the right direction. Again, guys, a couple reminders. The rankings that are on screen currently are for half PPR, 4 point per passing touchdown, updated as of this morning. So if you have any questions in regards to interpositional rankings in a half PPR, meaning everyone in the middle, half, standard, full, either way, the rankings on screen should be able to lead you in the right direction. I do read that it says that Jalen Hurts has an illness and isn't practicing today, is expected to travel with the team for Monday night's game. Oh, wowie. I'd still play him over Brock Purdy, though. It's Jalen Hurts, man. I would assume, he'd lock it in. Okay. Let's see here. We have a question that came in from, I think I see one from Charles R. Charles, thank you. Let me see if I can find the question that's supposed to be attached to this, Charles. I don't see one that's attached. Charles. All right, Charles R's question is, what's up, Andrew? Rest of the season in playoffs, half PPR, pick 1, Ty Chandler, James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco. From what we heard yesterday, Isaiah Pacheco had shoulder surgery. So I don't think he's going to be back anytime soon. So between those 3, I'll take James Cook for right now. That's where I'm leaning the direction of. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. Okay, after Charles R's question, we had one from Evan who says, should I ride with Gabe Davis train? No. I would suggest that no one plays Gabe Davis today or this weekend, but you know the risk that's implicated. As long as you understand what you're doing and you're not blindly going into this and you understand that Gabe Davis has literally scored 0 points in 3 of the last 5 games, as long as you understand the reality and then you still consider it as an option, right? That is a decision you have to make on your own. You have to pretty much look in the mirror, look at your fantasy team, give an inspiring speech, talking about every inch matters and all that kind of jazz, all this, you know what I mean? Like, you got to really send it. Maybe get the Al Pacino speech from Any Given Sunday, play that son of a gun and just let it rip, fire up the squad, throw Gabe Davis in there and pray. But it's probably not the best idea, but it could be it could be solid. Wide receivers have played pretty well against the Dallas Cowboys as of late. That's why I'm crazy enough to consider it. But you need to know that there is a lot of potential for, massive failure in that circumstance. Jonathan Del Angel says, defense, Chiefs, Saints, Browns, or Ravens. Currently, I have the Chiefs ranked the highest. I'll go ahead and change the graphics on screen just so you can check those out. But yes, currently, I have the Chiefs ranked the highest. Thanks. Colts or Bears defense? I have the Colts ahead of the Bears. McBride, Chandler, Connor, Ford in a full PPR. I'll take McBride. Still taking Gibson over Chandler full PPR? No, I'll take Chandler. I don't want to over-exaggerate with the Gibson potential. I was kind of waffling yesterday because I didn't know for sure. But yeah, I'll take Chandler as of right now. Pat M says, Andrew, should I switch out Colts for Saints? Can you explain why you like them so much in regards? Yeah. The primary reason I like the Saints as much as I do is because I don't trust Tommy DeVito. I know that DeVito is on a 3-game winning streak, but they've played against some pretty, I don't want to say, they played against some teams that haven't played well. Let's just put it that way, okay? I think the Saints have a really good defense, especially against a inexperienced quarterback like DeVito. So I would assume that they could put a pretty quick number on him, force a couple turnovers, etc. Lil Boy Blue says in a question, says, JT playable in the return next week? Who do they play against, though? Colts next week play against the Falcons. He's playable. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. We had a question that came in from Scott Green. Thank you, Scott. Who says, full PPR, I need 2 flex. Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Rico Dowdle, James Conner. The 2 that I would suggest is T. Higgins and James Conner there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, let me pivot this mic just so we're... Hello, camera. Wake up, buddy. This camera does not want to focus sometimes. Franklin, thank you. You know what? Just because you said that, I'll go ahead and answer your question. Goodness gracious, camera. Lock it in. Not enough with the come on. Come on, camera. There you are, buddy. Come on. Autofocus. Autofocus. Okay. Franklin says I don't want to spam. So here's my question. All right, Franklin. Let's see where your question is. Franklin says, "What's up, Andrew? Playoff time. Half PPR, Kyler or Nick Mullins? I'll play Kyler there. Rashi Rice, Zach Moss, or Devon Achane in the flex. I'll take Rashi Rice there. Last, Vikings or Cowboys defense? I'll take the Vikings there. Thank you." We had a question that came in from Jonathan Chetty, who says, Jonathan, where's your question, man? I don't see it. Let me see if I can find it in the chat. Jonathan Chetty says, start Amari Cooper or Ty Chandler in the flex. Depends on scoring format. If it's a full PPR, I'll take Amari Cooper. If it's a half, I'll take Ty Chandler. Thank you. I think my camera probably just went out of focus. As soon as I scratch my beard, I move my hand up, it like spazzes out. Okay, good. I know that's out of focus. Okay, cool. Nobody's here to see me. You guys are here to see the rankings, but, got to make sure the quality's up, right? Alexander Drucker sends in a question, says, "Hey, Andrew, happy holidays." Thank you very much, Alexander. Thank you. Happy holidays to you as well, to you and your family. Thanks for the streams. Made the playoffs in all 4 of my leagues with 2 bye weeks. I'm going to leave my question in the chat. Cool. Okay, let me check that out right now. Alexander Drucker says, in one league, I'm good, but the other, I had Eckler start, so I need more of a boom, but I'm hurting with people out. Would you start Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Demarcus Robinson, and would I go with the Colts or Vikings defense for a boom? For a boom, you play the Colts defense. You hope that Mitchell Trubisky throws a pick 6. As for the other alternative options between Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Demarcus Robinson, if we're looking for a boom, you play Demarcus Robinson. Thank you. Okay. Jackie sends in a question. Says half. It's not even half PPR. Just a straight up question. T Higgins. What does it say? T Higgins or Kenneth Walker. Why isn't T ranked? What has T Higgins done in the last 3 weeks that kind of deserves a ranking? Am I crazy to say that? Is that a bad take? I feel like T Higgins just hasn't done anything. Like, let me see here. Besides the fact that they have a tough matchup against Minnesota, right? T Higgins in the last 3 games with Jake Browning as a starting quarterback. Let's see here. Let me pull this up. T Higgins in the last 3 games has finished as, or he hasn't even played 3 games with them. The last 2 weeks, he's finished as wide receiver 47 and 34. I mean, in comparison to all these other options, now that there isn't any teams on bye week, I just don't see him as a top 36 option. Top 40 option, sure, but not top 36. Let's see here. So between the two, I'll take Kenneth Walker. If you prefer, I will say, if you do prefer to play T Higgins in his stead, fine by me. But yeah, I do believe that Kenneth Walker is the better play. Benicio Herrera, very familiar name. When I used to coach football, but maybe it's a different person. Either way, let's see here. Where's Benicio's question? Benicio, do me a favor and type in the chat. I know you sent in a super chat, but there wasn't anything attached to it. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Scott Green, who says Bengals or Rams defense. If I'm not mistaken, I have the Bengals ahead of the Rams today. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. It is, in fact, the Bengals. Drop Hollywood for CEH. If you need running back depth, Owen, sure. Let's see here. FRS says Cowboys or Texans defense. I'd rather play the Cowboys today, honestly. Or this weekend, excuse me. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Big Cat, who says, hey, Achane, Deontay. Okay, so first and foremost, between those two, considering we don't know if Achane's going to play, I think the safer of the two is to play Deontay Johnson today. If you have an alternative option outside of those two, let's say, for example, you're like, hey, I want to take the risk or I want to try to get the high risk, high reward of Devon Achane. I'm going to go to play him tomorrow. I'm going to wait. and bench Deontay Johnson today, it really depends what your alternative option is. If you don't have an alternative option that is actually worth a damn in terms of a start, I just play Deontay Johnson today and I don't even worry about it. As for your follow-up question, Flacco or Browning, I'll take Browning. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Caleb Hamilton, who says, PPR Kincaid or Goddard? Let me see why I've ranked higher. In a PPR, I have it as Goddard. As for your follow-up question, pray for Tyreek Hill and HN. Yeah, I mean, that's up to the fantasy gods. We'll see how that kind of turns out. Fishing for Life says, do you have an Underdog promo code? Yeah, it's in the description of the video. It's code Andrew, ANDREW. My name. Thank you. Let's see here. Where are we? C. Schuster in the chat says, do I start Ford or Chandler? I'd rather play Chandler. Michael Johnson in the chat says, hi, Andrew. Standard. Currently starting Goff this week. Should I drop someone for Geno? Goff, Addison, or Kareem Hunt? Yeah, I'd be legitimately for this week, because considering it's the playoffs, it's win or go home. I would drop any of those three, but I would prefer to drop the player that you think is the least applicable for your future games. Like if you have enough RB depth, you drop Kareem Hunt. If you I almost said something there. I almost combined Kareem and Hunt, and or otherwise, if you have enough wide receiver depth, you drop Addison. I would probably lean towards dropping Addison and just rolling with Geno this week as the starter. Thank you. Colored Hack says, what's up, Andrew? Which two should I start this week in a full PPR? Jamar Chase, Raheem Mostert, Ezekiel Elliott. In a full PPR, I would probably end up going with Chase and Mostert. Benicio, did you end up typing in the chat, Benicio? Benicio, there we go. Good morning, Coach. All right, so it is okay. There we go. It is the right Benicio. What's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Would you rock with Mostert or Rachaad White this week? Yeah, as of right now, okay. So let's get this first and foremost. Would you rock with Mostert or White? If it's that as a plain question, straight up, even if so let's Rachaad White plays against Green Bay. Yeah, even if Achane doesn't play tomorrow, I would still play Rachaad White over Mostert this week. Even if Achane doesn't play. I think the offensive line for the Dolphins and the injury that they've sustained, centers out, offensive guards out, 3 of their starting tackles, there's 2 starters in their swing are questionable, could end up missing. All the injuries that are implicated within the Dolphins offense as a whole leans me towards playing Rachaad White, the current number 5 running back in a half PPR. So I'd lean towards that. As for your follow-up question, or Henry and Pollard. Okay, so of the 4 options you have there, White, Henry, Mostert, Pollard, it would go White number 1, Mostert 2, Henry 3, Pollard 4, in that order. As for your next question, Puka Nacua over Jefferson, yes, I would take that, especially considering they're playing against Washington. Their secondary and their number 1 cornerback on the outside, who will predominantly be covering Puka Nacua, is Benjamin St-Juste. The amount of times that this young man has been burnt this season is an astronomical amount. It's pretty ridiculous how bad that Washington secondary is, especially after they fired their defensive coordinator and secondaries coach. They cleaned house there in the defensive region. Still can't stop a soul, so I'd lean in that direction. Would you sub one over the other? Thanks, Coach. Okay, so in regards to again, right now, if I was to order it, White, Mostert, Henry, Pollard, Nacua over Jefferson, good to go. If you're starting 2 running backs there, it would be White and Mostert. If you're flexing a player, it would probably be Henry. If you're starting a wide receiver, it's probably Nacua, right? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Benicio. All right, we had a question that came in from Rob Torrey. Rob, thank you very much. Says, could play Chandler today or wait to take a chance on Olave. And if he sits, I would have the potential to swapping to Ford or Gibson. In a full PPR, I'd be willing to take the risk of potentially playing Olave, and then if not, going to Gibson. In a half PPR, I just play Chandler. Geraldo says, happy holidays, Andrew. Puka Nacua or Justin Jefferson in the flex spot full PPR. I prefer Nacua this week. Let's see here. Cowboys defense. Okay, we took care of that one earlier. Moss or Rice in a full PPR, I'll take Rashi Rice. PPR best rest of season for CEH or McKinnon. Yeah, rest of season in a PPR would be CEH. Just the volume of opportunity is so much higher. Frank Grillo sends in a question, says, one running back, Clyde Edwards, Gus Edwards, Zach Charbonnet. Okay, between those three this week, I'd rather play CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. As for your one wide receiver, one flex, you have Pitts, Boyd, and Noah Brown. I would play Noah Brown as your wide receiver, and I would play Pitts as your flex. Thank you. Assuming the weather's not a disaster. If it is a disaster, you would then pivot to playing, I guess, Tyler Boyd or Zach Charbonnet or Gus. I guess it would probably be Tyler Boyd as the pivot if the weather's a disaster in Carolina tomorrow. Goff or Baker, I have Goff ranked higher. Mustafa says, hey, Andrew, Lockett or Ridley this week in a full PPR? I'd rather play Lockett. Thank you. Especially considering that secondary for the Eagles is going to be in a pretty bad spot. Constantino says, my brother, full PPR. I need one. Garrett Wilson, Rashi Rice, Flowers. In a full PPR, I currently have it ranked as Rashi Rice number 1, Zay Flowers 2, Garrett Wilson 3 in that order. Thank you. Okay, we have another question from Nathan. No, it's not another question, but it's the first question from Nathaniel Samuel. Nathan says, full PPR, Browning or Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, I'll take Trevor Lawrence there. Colts or Browns defense? I'll take the Browns defense. Thank you. Okay, Fozzie Bear, what's up, man? Merry Christmas to you as well. Let's see here. Puka or Waddle? Alex, I prefer Puka. Gabriella sends in a question, says, playoffs, PPR, one flex. Waddle, Moss, James Cook. Between the three in a full PPR, I'm probably playing Waddle there. As for your follow-up question, Russell Wilson or Sam Howell? I'll take Sam Howell there. Thanks. I have Kamara, Bijan, Chase, and Devontae Adams as my starters. Congratulations. Good to go. Thank you, Gabriella. Let's see here. GB says, I would like to donate my ankle to Chris Olave. You know what? I'd be willing to make that happen. I'll call my medical experts and we'll see what we can do. Let's see here. Lou8304 says, how high do you see the chances that Waddle will absolutely stint this week? Stint? Is that the right word or do you mean stink? It is stink. It literally says stink. My brain is just completely cooked. How high of a chances will... I have a hard time thinking that Waddle will suck this week. Man, my brain is fried, guys. I will tell you. Okay, moving on. We had a question that came in from Brandon Malone, who says, I need a wide receiver and 2 flex options out of the following in a full PPR. We have Deontay, Ridley, Ford, Chandler, Warren, Gabe Davis. Of the following options that you have available, Brandon, I'd probably go Deontay, Chandler, and Ridley. Thank you. iShine101 says, likely or... What does that say? What is that? Likely or Aaron Jones? Man, I don't know what autocorrect you're on, but it went like L or Aaron spelled incorrectly, phones, PPR, 10-man league split out. Anyway, if Aaron Jones is active tomorrow, I will play him over Isaiah Likely. But that is the only, I mean, obviously that's it. If A.J. Dillon is active, even if he's active, I'd still play Aaron Jones over him. Alrighty, where are we at? We took care of iShine. We took care of Brandon. Thank you very much. Anthony T says, rank these wide receivers. Pickens, Dotson, Judy, Thielen. Thielen number 1, assuming the weather's good. Otherwise, he goes to the back of the line. But for right now, Thielen number 1. Thielen 1. Let's see, wide receiver. Thielen 1, Pickens 2, Dotson 3, Judy 4. Thank you. PD sends in a question, says half PPR, flex, DeAndre Hopkins or Breece Hall. In a half PPR, I'd rather play DeAndre Hopkins. Thank you. Double J Miller says flex Montgomery or Olave. Yeah, I'd rather just play Montgomery today, especially considering it's a half PPR. Thanks. Cliff H in the chat says full PPR, big yard bonus, 4-start Trubisky. Actually, it's not a bad start today. Olave, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Downs, Ford, Gibson. Should weather bother me in terms of any of these games. In terms of weather reports as of week 15, the only games in which they're implicated to potentially have bad weather, Carolina versus Atlanta, and Bills versus Cowboys, maybe. Seahawks versus Eagles, maybe. And Browns versus Bears, maybe. But the biggest, the game that is like guaranteed for rain is Carolina versus the Atlanta Falcons. That is what it looks like as of right now. I guarantee you, we get to tomorrow morning, I guarantee you, and there's no rain in Carolina. It always happens, guys. It always happens. They instill fear in our hearts for them to just not have any weather. But anyway, in terms of the two flexes for upside, Cliff, I would say you probably play Deontay Johnson today. You hold out hope that you could play Olave, and if you can't, you pivot to playing Antonio Gibson tomorrow. Question from, let's see here, Michael Nugent or Michael Wynn. Is it Wynn? Is that how you pronounce it? Wynn? Either way, I'm pretty sure it's Michael Wynn. Start three: Olave, Roschon, Pickens, JSN, Addison. Olave, Roschon, Pickens, JSN, Addison. As of right now, Olave number 1, assuming he plays. JSN number 2, and I'd go with Pickens number 3. Thank you. If in fact Olave doesn't play tomorrow, then you play Roschon. You need another option, Michael. Okay, so this is what I would suggest, Michael. You go Olave, Pickens, JSN. If Olave doesn't play tomorrow, find another receiver on the Saints and play them instead. Thank you. Achane or Keaton Mitchell, considering they don't play till tomorrow, we'll have an understanding, Matthew Williams, as to who's the starter. Or sorry, not who's the starter. Whether or not Achane's actually playing. If he's playing, I'd rather have him over Keaton Mitchell. JJ or DK, PPR. I'd rather play DK. Zach Moss or Chase in a half PPR, flex. Who do I have ranked higher? I'm fairly certain I have Jamar Chase higher, but let me check. Jamar Chase is there, and Zach Moss is lower than him. Yep. Anthony C says, start 2 in a PPR. OBJ, Reed, Waddle. I'll take Reed and Waddle. Thank you. This is in a PPR scoring format. CJ Bryant says, start 1 quarterback. Trevor, Kyler, Jake. I have Trevor number 1, Jake number 2, Kyler number 3. For rest of season, question mark? For rest of season, I think it depends on that schedule. Because Kyler's got a pretty sweet schedule. No, I'd rather just play Trevor Lawrence rest of the season. Next week has the Buccaneers, and the week after has Carolina. Those are just 2 easy games. And they don't really have to travel much. Pretty local in terms of those games. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Big Body Birds 21, who says, risk all Geno over Browning, lock not available. Risk playing Geno Smith over Browning. Drew Lock is not available. Let me check the practice report for Geno Smith. Let me see if I have any updates. I don't know if we will, because they're a West Coast team, so they probably haven't practiced today. Yeah, we don't have any updates. Where is he at? Geno. Wait, was Geno? Yeah, he is. Limited practice. In that position, okay, so Big Body Birds, considering you have Browning or Geno, you just play Browning. You don't take a risk. If later today Geno Smith practices, re-aggravates the groin, and he's out, and you have no other quarterback options besides playing like Desmond Ridder tomorrow, I'd just rather play Browning right now. Nick sends in a question. Says, start 1, Jefferson, St. Brown, Michael Pittman Jr., or play all 3. Sorry, sit 1 or play all 3. So what's your alternative? Because, yeah, what's your alternative? Because you only have 3 options. So who's your 4th that you would be playing 1 over? Mirko Jirok in the chat says, hi, Andrew. Fields or Howell? Yeah, I like Howell this week. Thank you, Yoshiguchi. Appreciate that. Fields or Jared Goff? I'm fairly certain I have Fields ahead of him. Moss or Ridley? I'd rather play Moss. Khalid says, hey, Andrew, full PPR, Debo, JJ, Rice, and DK. Who do I sit? It's hard to sit Jefferson. I can't do it. Okay, if you can't sit Jefferson, then you sit Rice and you play Debo and DK with him. I could 100% understand you not sitting JJ, especially considering he's your first round pick. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But yeah. So if you're going to sit one, it would be Rice. Nick, what's your alternative if I say start all three? Flex. Okay, so we took care of that one. Puka or Achane? 100% Puka. Chandler or Gibson? I'll take Chandler. Saints or Browns? I'll take the Saints. Isaiah says second flex. Logan Thomas, Spears, McKinnon, Douglas, Algier. Isaiah Mitch. If it's a full PPR, I will take Demario Douglas. If it's not a full PPR, it's a half PPR, I will take Tyjae Spears. Moon God says Dalton Schultz or Tanner Hudson. I have Dalton Schultz ranked higher. Thoughts on benching Gabe Davis this week? So inconsistent? Yes, absolutely should be benched. Unless you're in a super desperate position or you need ultimate upside, yeah, that's a bench. Higgins or JSN? I have JSN ranked higher. Nick says fourth option is Laporta, DJ Moore, Etienne Barkley. Gee, Christmas. Okay, so you have Jefferson, St. Brown, Pittman, Laporta, DJ Moore, Etienne Barkley. Yeah, I would start St. Brown, Pittman, and probably Barkley. Those are the three that I would go with if it's my team. Javonte or Lockett? In a full PPR, Lockett, half PPR standard, Javonte. That's the answer to Millie Dub's question. Addison or Deontay Johnson? Deontay Johnson. Addison doesn't do anything, especially with the backup quarterback now. Third string quarterback now. Brock versus easier opponent or Dak? That's the issue that I have with Brock versus an easy opponent. Imagine a reality in which Brock Prescott shows up to the game. Brock Purdy shows up to the game, and Christian McCaffrey scores 2 rushing touchdowns. Debo scores a rushing touchdown, and unfortunately, Brock Purdy only comes away with 1 touchdown and like 300 yards. That's the issue, right? We've seen it on multiple occasions this season. Brock Purdy has been hamstrung by the fact that his team is so good around him in comparison to Dak, who is going to be the primary scorer, and when they get down into the red zone, about 80% of the time, they're throwing touchdowns rather than scoring on the ground. So I will lean towards playing Dak there. Do you know if Chris Olave is in or out? Vlad, as of right now, I would assume that he's leaning towards being out. If I was going to guess, the primary reason why I've come to that conclusion in my own mind without getting any sort of confirmation from any source is because he didn't practice a single time this week. So when you don't practice Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, typically they give you the doubtful designation. Considering he was given questionable, that means there's still a chance. If he was given the doubtful designation, I would have already guaranteed you guys he's out and I wouldn't rank him on screen. But as of right now, considering he still has a questionable tag, I would lean towards the idea that he is still potentially going to play. But for right now, I would assume that he's leaning. Yeah, I would assume that it's probably him not playing if I had to make a guess. So you always have to have an alternative option just in case. You heard about Hurts' illness? Yeah, I mean, maybe he has a stuffy nose. I'm assuming he'll be fine. If it's like a stomach flu, which again, we're never going to know, right? Like, if you guys remember earlier this season, the last time I think it was maybe week 10, Patrick Mahomes took on Denver in Denver, and Patrick Mahomes had like a stomach flu or something. They didn't tell us how sick he was. The dude was like probably blowing chunks out of both sides. And we didn't know what was going on, and the guy played like absolute garbage. So we just don't know the extent of what this quote-unquote illness will kind of deem. So for now, I mean, the last time, outside of Patrick Mahomes being sick in a game, the last time I remember a player being sick but prior to a game was Amon-Ra against the Raiders. And what he do in that game? It was like 100 yards and a touchdown. So I'll be okay. Where is Kyler Murray ranked? I'm sitting him for Browning, ? I have Kyler Murray ranked at number 17. No, sorry. Is he at number 18? He's at number 18 this week, and I have him below Browning. So yeah, I would play Browning ahead of him. Okay. As for next question, Tamir K says 2 of Waddle, Chandler, CEH, Gibson, Najee. I'd take Waddle and Chandler there. Thank you, Tamir. Big Body Birds says PPR Chandler or Ford. I'll take Chandler. Rams or Vikings. I'll take Vikings. Thank you. Carlos sends in a question. Carlos, there wasn't a message attached to your question. Carlos Maldonado, do me a favor and type it in the live chat. Oh, you just sent in another super chat. Got it. Mixon, Gibbs, Montgomery, and Rice. What three do I start? Carlos, what's your scoring format, my man? Thank you. Tommy D sends in a question. Says, "Hi Andrew, sorry if you have spoken already about this. I've seen Hurts is questionable. Are you worried, or shall I play Fields tomorrow in case?" No, just you're fine. Play Hurts. He's only questionable because he didn't practice today because of an illness. I mean, I think the only reason that they didn't make him practice is because they want him to be at a full capacity and being able to get healthy as quick as possible for Monday night's game. And they also don't want him to come to practice and get anybody else sick. So I think he'll be fine. I'd fire him up still over Fields. Do you have defense and special team list? Yes, there they are. Still looking for your scoring for Mac, Carlos. Thank you. Carlos says PPR. Got it. So, Carlos, of the available options you have, Gibbs, Mixon, Montgomery, and Rice in a full PPR, I would end up sitting Montgomery. I'd play Rice, Gibbs, and Mixon over him. Thank you. If you're worried about not starting both of the Detroit Lions running backs, that's fine. You could technically start Gibbs and Montgomery over Mixon, but you still have to play Rice there. But that would only be if you wanted to just never separate the two running backs of the Lions to make sure you get all the value out of both of them. Otherwise, my suggestion in a full PPR as of right now, Mixon, Gibbs, Rice. Thank you. Tommy D, we're good to go. Play Hurts, you're fine. Aaron Northcutt says Mitchell, Downs, Higgins, Javonte, Achane, Samuel, pick 2, half PPR. Assuming that is Curtis Samuel, right? Because nobody's sitting Debo. Mitchell, Downs, Higgins, Javonte, Achane. Okay, so this is the way that I would approach it. Javonte is number 1 in a half PPR. Number 2 would be Achane. If Achane can't go tomorrow, I would play Curtis Samuel. Thank you. We had a question that came in from Alex Turner, who says, "Hey, Andrew, Ty Chandler, Devin Singletary, or George Pickens?" I'll take Ty Chandler 1, Devin Singletary 2, George Pickens 3. Appreciate it. Thank you, Alex. We had a question that came in from Damon Smith. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Says, "LOL, hey, man, I'm tempted to start 4 Rams. Puka, Kyron, Stafford, and their kicker. What do you think?" Yes. I am all for it. I'm all for it. I don't know what your alternative options are, but I do not see that as a bad idea, honestly. Let's see here. Yeah, and considering the Rams play at home, there's no weather conditions. It's indoors. We're good to go. I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. Vlad sends in a follow-up question, says, Antonio Gibson or Tyjae Spears? I prefer Antonio Gibson, considering Brian Robinson Jr. is out. Somebody in the chat, Dig, said, Zach Moss, James Cook, or Swift in a PPR. I'll take Zach Moss out of the 3. Let's see here. T. Higgins or Brandon Cooks, says Matthew Solly. I'll take Brandon Cooks there. Mason Fu says Chandler or Javonte. I have Javonte ahead of Chandler this week. Morgan D says half PPR. Wide receiver and flex. Devontae Smith, Waddle, Sutton, Deontay, Mixon, and Hall. Okay, half PPR, wide receiver and flex. The wide receiver that I would go with is Cortland Sutton. The flex that I would go with is Mixon. Thank you. Tamir K says Reed at wide receiver 3 or Chandler at RB3 at the flex. If it's a half PPR, I'll take Chandler. If it's a full PPR, I'll take Reed. Thank you. Let's see here. We have a question from Christian Ponce. Christian Ponce's question is, Christian, there isn't a message attached. It just says PPR. Do me a favor in the live chat, Christian, just type your message out and I'll try to answer it right now. Aaron Northcutt says Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. In terms of my rankings that are on screen as of right now, I have Russell Wilson ahead of Justin Fields. He's a consistent play, and I don't want to mess anything up this week, so I'm firing it up there. Cap Mac N says, "Can you give me a job?" Unfortunately, no. But I appreciate you asking. Kevin Wynn says, flex Taysom Hill or Rashid Shaheed in case Tyreek doesn't play. If Tyreek doesn't play, I would play Taysom Hill. I would play, okay, if Tyreek doesn't play and Olave is active, I would play Taysom Hill. If Olave is not if he is not active, I would play Rashid Shaheed most likely. Ollie H says, hi Andrew, week 16, Mayfield or Lawrence? Let me look at the schedule. NFL week 16. Mayfield versus, where are we at here? No, that's 2022, week 16. Okay. Mayfield plays against the Jaguars or Lawrence versus the Buccaneers. So they're playing each other. I'd rather play Lawrence. That Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense is awful this season, especially in their secondary. A lot of injuries. Elijah Rudin says, hi, Andrew. Tough spot between Kyren Williams and Garrett Wilson in a standard scoring lead. I think more upside with Kyren Williams, but Wilson has been more consistent in terms of workload. Is K Williams Kyren Williams, or you're meant? It's not Kyren Williams. That's Kenneth Walker the third. I thought it was K Will. Okay, Kenneth Walker or Garrett Wilson in a standard league where it's 0 points per reception. I'd rather play Kenneth Walker. I understand that Garrett Wilson's been more consistent as of late, but in a standard scoring format where you're getting 0 points per reception. And I do believe Geno Smith does end up playing on Monday. I think the running game will be far more consistent because they won't be able to stack the box, as they'll be praying that they can cover all three of those receivers for the Seahawks. Bryce Lawson says, Calvin Ridley or Deontay Johnson? I'll take Deontay Johnson this week. Thank you, Bryce. In the last 5 games in which Deontay Johnson has played with Mitchell Trubisky as a starting quarterback, I think he's averaging like 11 to 12 points per game and a half PPR. Pretty solid play there in the week. We're looking for Ponce. Is Ponce... question in the chat by chance? There we go. Christian Ponce says, Justin Jefferson a must start? Question mark. Any doubts? I have Jaden Reed on my bench. Between the two, I have no doubts. I would rather play Justin Jefferson over Jaden Reed. In comparison to alternative options, I may, I definitely, especially considering the rankings on screen, I would go elsewhere. But for right now, yeah, I'm comfortable playing Justin Jefferson over Jaden Reed. Carver Gaming says, Jefferson or play Godwin or Lockett? No, I'd rather play Jefferson there. Tudius says, am I overthinking things, or should I play Jefferson should I bench Jefferson for Montgomery? Let me see where I have them ranked accordingly in a half PPR. What is your scoring format here, Tudius? In a half PPR. Okay, cool. Tudius, in a half PPR, I have Montgomery at 30 and I have Jefferson at 34. They're close enough to where I could justify playing one over the other, but I do prefer Montgomery because of the Denver Broncos matchup, a defense that's allowing 5 yards per carry on average. And I can trust the idea of Montgomery getting the ball. I know Jefferson will get the ball. I just don't know how great the quarterback play will be from Mullins. That's what scares me. Zay Flowers or Chandler? I'd rather play Zay Flowers. CEH or Drake London? I'd probably rather play CEH because of the weather that's in Carolina implicated right now. Why are we lower on Fields this week? I'm worried about that Cleveland defense lighting his ass up. That's my biggest issue. His offensive line. Let's see here. PPR, Komet or Likely? I have Likely ahead of him. Aaron Jones or Deontay? I don't even know if Aaron Jones is playing tomorrow. But if he does, I'd play him over Deontay. But if you have an alternative option to Aaron Jones and you can wait till tomorrow and not play Deontay today, then let's try it. But otherwise, you have to play Deontay. Anthony C says Dwight Schrute or Ron Swanson. Survival skills? I think Ron Swanson beats Dwight, man. I think Dwight's too much of an idiot, to be honest. Even though Dwight's a farmer, I think Swanson's he's just like one of those guys that could absolutely disappear, show up and go to the random neck of the woods and put up an absolute house and live there for the rest of his life, off the grid. That's just that feels like what Swanson does. Santino says, Ty Chandler or Zay Flowers? I'll take Zay Flowers there. PL says, if no Olave in a full PPR, Addison, DeMarcus Robinson, or Pop Douglas? I'll take Pop Douglas. I'll take Pop Douglas out of the 3 if Olave doesn't play. Because Addison will not be playing because he'll be playing today. So yeah, I'll go with Pop Douglas there. Jose Rodriguez says, should I start Pollard or Zach Moss for my flex? I prefer to play Pollard. Gary sends in a question, says, flex spot, McBride in a full PPR, Ridley, Marquise Brown, Chandler, or Gibson? I have McBride ranked the highest of the bunch. iShine101 says, I need one wide receiver, one flex in a 10-man PPR. Mostert, Sutton, Waddle. Need upside. If I'm starting 2 of these 3 in a full PPR, I'm probably playing Mostert and Sutton. Flawless says in a half PPR, I have both Lions running backs, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. Do I start both running backs? And who do I play in the flex? If it's my team in a half PPR, I probably end up playing both of the Lions running backs and Garrett Wilson there. Actually, let me check. Do I have Garrett Wilson ranked higher than Hall in a half? Let me see. Wilson. Where's Hall? Where's Hall? Where are you? Never mind. I have Breece Hall at 38, Garrett Wilson at 40 in a half PPR. So it's all 3 running backs there. Flawless. Thank you. Sven Dragon says Stafford or Kyler, week 16 and 17. I would. Let's see how Kyler plays this week. I don't want to objectively say one way or the other because if Stafford's on a heater still, I kind of have to lean in his direction. Underdog picks, yeah. TJ Hawkinson going higher than 7.5 targets. Michael Pittman Jr. going higher than 7 receptions. Bank that in before the game start. Colin says, you're the man. Would you play Addison, Judy, or Hollywood Brown? Between the 3, I'd rather play Hollywood Brown number 1, Addison 2, Judy 3. Follow-up question, also CEH or Singletary? I'll take CEH. Hamza Riaz says, full PPR, pick 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex. Ayuk, Waddle, Kyron, Derrick Henry, Montgomery, Nico Collins, Zach Moss, Odell Beckham. The 2 running backs that I would play are Kyron Williams and Derrick Henry. The 2 wide receivers I would play are Brandon Ayuk and Jalen Waddle. I would flex David Montgomery. Thank you, Hamza. Full PPR, Moss or Montgomery. I have them literally back-to-back in my rankings. I would probably play Montgomery because I've seen him play at a far higher level and far more consistently, but I do not mind Moss. I do not mind it. 0.5 PPR, Drake London or CEH. Probably CEH because of the weather that's implicated in Carolina tomorrow. Browning or Love? I like Browning. No, actually, I like Love. What am I saying? I have Jordan Love ranked higher. You guys are trying to get me off my my game. The rankings that are on screen should lean you in the right direction. Tough matchups for Tua and Trevor. Should I drop one for and add Gino? Considering it's the playoffs, I'd say yes. Because if, in fact, you lose, you go home. So you want to win this week. So I'd say yes. Mike Evans, Tony Pollard, David Njoku, PPR flex. I'd rather play Mike Evans there. Jake sends in a question. Says Deontay Foreman, Devin Singletary, Jerick McKinnon. If I'm playing one of the 3, I'm playing Singletary 1, Deontay Foreman 2, Jerick McKinnon 3. Thank you. Augie Smith says Montgomery or Henry, full PPR. I'll take Derrick Henry there. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, it's 10 a.m. The Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals are about to kick off. I appreciate you guys, spending the last 3 hours with me, asking questions, all that kind of jazz. I appreciate you all support. I have to go and see my barber. I got to get a couple trims with the beard. So I'm going to be heading out. I'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do appreciate you guys supporting the channel via the likes, the super chats, just chatting in the chat, just being members of the community. That's all I ask for. Thank you guys for watching every single day which you do. Much love. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Enjoy today's games. Thumbs up. Good to go. Again, if you guys want my rankings every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, check out Underdog Fantasy. Promo code Andrew. Link down in the description. Again, Underdog picks that I like for today. Obviously, the game just started, but I do like the idea of Michael Pittman Jr. later today. 7.0 receptions going higher. He's accomplished that in 8 of the last 9 games he has played with Gardner Minshew. That's an 89% success rate. I also like the idea of taking Breece Hall going higher on receptions, 4.0. He has had 4 or more receptions in 7 of the last 8 games. And I also like the idea of Cortland Sutton tonight, anytime touchdown. 10 of the last 13 games he has played, he scored a touchdown. It's a 77% success rate. And on top of it, that's the 6th best matchup at the wide receiver position. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and cue the music, and I'm going to head out. Much love. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy today's games. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Peace.